Still alive, still alive.
So the treasury broke and they say that recession jamming. So the foreign countries really start migrating. They lose faith in the country, they say we gone down the drain. They say no more could we see happy times again. But the will to recover in my people like have confidence. Although many may seem to feel that I talking nonsense, but the majority of we decide we're not going to run, because now is the time to show we patriotism. For we country facing, it's dark, it's our, so our people need us today more than ever. But in our fight to recover, if ever you feel to surrender, it have one little thing that I want you always remember. We could make it if we try, just a little harder. If we just give one more try, life would be much sweeter.
Still alive, still alive.
From the time Trini analyzed this, what was the problem? Yes, we start making very positive move to solve them. We fired the old set of managers we had working, and it's a new group we went and we bring in. And if the goods we require, them new managers not supplying. When election time come back wrong, it's new ones we bring in. But if it's one thing about my people, I could guarantee that they would never ever put party before country. And in the country facing, it's dark, it's sour, and our people need us today more than ever. But in our fight to recover, if ever you feel to surrender, it have one little thing that I want you always remember. We could make it if we try, just a little harder. If we just give one more try, life would be much sweeter. When the treasury was full and happy times, some was enjoying. It's in mover and love until poor people was living. Now the treasury flat and the country come back to square one. Poor people remain on the same old ghetto in John. But to get the economy return today on some footing, it's the same poor people 10 days and cola they're taking. And without social unrest, poor people paying the price, because they know for the country nothing too much to sacrifice. And if the country facing, it's dark, it's sour, so our people need us today more than ever. But in our fight to recover, if ever you feel to surrender, it have one little thing that I want you always remember. We could make it if we try, just a little harder. If we just give one more try, life will be much sweeter.
Still alive, still alive. Anytime that we hear Trinbago is facing a crisis,
As loyal citizens, it's our duty to stay and assist. For we know to ourselves there could never become a day we're not deaf to this country we can repeat. So who want to go, could go, I have no objection. But while outside I want you to have some consideration that your country of birth facing its worst day in history. And we must do what we can, regardless where we may be. Our country facing its darkest hour, and our people need us today more than ever. But in our fight to recover, if ever we feel to surrender, it have one little thing that I want we always remember. We could make it if we try. Just a little harder.
We can make it if we try.
If we just give one more try, life could be much sweeter. We could make it if we try. Just a little harder. If we just give one more try, more try, more try, life could be much sweeter. We could make it if we try, 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 try. Just a little harder now, a little harder. One more try, one more try. Sweeter, baby, sweeter. Try, try.
Yes, my good people, that's the late great Black Stallion. I'm DJ Mawisha coming to you live and direct from my bunker this evening, Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. Yes, I'm still in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, and this evening I have a couple of stalwarts on the screen, as you can see. We got one of our icon there, legend, the Honorable Dr. Garfield Alexander, along with Mr. Philip Martinez and also Mr. Benter joining me this afternoon. But just a quick update, we're going to change up the format this evening a bit in terms of how I normally proceed with the podcast. I'm going to just drop a little ad here for you folks who may be scrolling the web, wondering what this podcast is all about, to give you an update what it's about. I'm going to also drop the prophecy of Dr. Alexander, and then we're going to go straight into our conversation with our guest this evening. So stand by and take a quick listen to the ad for the DJ Marishall's podcast.
Wednesday evenings are heating up. Log on to DJ Marishall's Facebook Live broadcast every Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. It's a frank and a candid exploration into the social, cultural, political, and economic issues affecting our federation. And just in case you missed it, you can also catch the broadcast on his YouTube channel, DJ Marishaw. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube and smash that bell. You will be notified whenever he goes live. DJ Marishaw, every Wednesday evening, Facebook 6 to 8 p.m. or thereafter on his YouTube channel, DJ Marishaw. Log on.
Yes, that you heard it right. That's DJ Marisha. We're here each and every Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. bringing you updates on our beloved Federation of St. Kitts Nevis, trying to keep the citizens informed at home and in the diaspora. Now let me just drop a clip here of Dr. Alexander, his prophecy.
DJ Marisha, I don't want you guys to take your eyes off him. Remember, he's been around for some time. Let's go back to COVID and lockdowns. The gentleman came in, was locked down in quarantine, and then realized the total hypocrisy, tyranny, and oppression of the then administration during our most horriblest time spoke out. Not only spoke out, became an activist. And then you know what he did? Organize and centralize. And he never stopped organizing and centralizing until Timothy was gone. I don't even want to talk about the involvement he had before and the Douglas administration and the Harris. We ain't gonna talk about that. I'm just talking that during COVID, that man, both on this front, locally, and in the US, waged war against tyranny and oppression. One simple man, a DJ as he calls himself. He never called himself an engineer or anything else, just a DJ, because he understands the power of voice, and not just voice, autonomous, independent, honest, transparent voice always wins in the end. So it could be persons with unlimited power and unlimited money. He somehow always becomes the David against the Goliaths. Be careful with him. Be kind to him. Watch him. Because trust me, he's going to triumph in the end again.
Yes, gentlemen, good evening. Brother Alexander, tap your screen, open your mic. As you guys are aware, on a weekly basis, the viewership goes up. We have new viewers every week. So if you can just give a quick synopsis of who is Dr. Alexander.
What should I say? Kittitian born, Kittitian raised. Left just for 7 years to study in communist socialist Cuba, where I think I saw all the other sides of the coin. Maybe not the perimeter. So I'm just learning the perimeter now. So I'm a young man, a little black boy that has grown into a black man now and has the right to challenge, has the right to question, the authority above me, because they should serve me and not the other way around. So that's by that alone, I have the right to speak up. Speak and speak up. I want to say a special good night to Mr. Martinez.
Okay, so Madam Martinez, you're up.
Good night, Mr. Garfield, and good night, Mr. Mauricio. Is Mr. Banta on as well?
Yeah, he's online, but he running late, so he just pop in. He's gonna be on screen shortly.
Okay.
But he's online. He's online already.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, you know me. I'm a film producer based in America, and I made about 10 movies in St. Kitts and Nevis and bought a hotel, and became involved in the citizenship program, and then started a several legal action to expose the fraud, corruption, money laundering, and security breach in the citizenship programs.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I really had a very busy schedule for this evening. And as you guys know, I don't like to run over time. My program should be 2 hours. I'm trying to stick to that. And I was going to go straight into that, what was dubbed a press conference yesterday. I dubbed it an oppression campaign. That is what I look at it as. The spinning and the lies and everything else that took place there. I took some notes. I received calls from various citizens asking me if I'm looking at it. So I had no choice but to go back and look at it. And it's very, I don't want to use the word insulting, but we have sense. The citizens of St. Kitts Nevis have common sense in spite of how these politicians may feel. And I'm going to try to break down that at some point during the program this evening. But without any further ado, Mr. Martinez, I would like you to make your presentation. Is there any input, any update you have for us as citizens of our beloved Federation of St. Kitts Nevis?
Well, it's not a presentation. It's more that I think that your podcasts are very important, Mr. Mauricio, because they bring awareness of something that people, and information that people don't have otherwise, right? So it's not about having a one-sided expose, but more to have a dialogue. Because the problem that you have in the Federation, which Mr. Garfield called political cannibalism, is that it's, oh, you're bad. No, you're bad and I'm good, and you're bad. So, you know, it's not that everybody is just bad or everybody is just good, right? There are things that I'm sure that are done by this government that are good. You know, the agenda to push for the green energy and geothermal, yeah, that sounds good, you know, if it's done and if they actually raise all the money to make it happen. But that's a positive thing, right? And people, when they are in opposite side, don't have the moral integrity to say, hey, that's good. That's a good development. No, the reason why I've accepted your invitation today is, of course, I watched the press conference and there was some interesting update. But I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the statement of Denzel Douglas when he was asked to respond for the visa. I don't know if you got that impression, gentlemen, but he kept saying Trump 1, Trump 2, like if it's Donald Trump who's being a really bad man, who's trying to do something bad with possible visa restriction, right? And I don't think that's right because they finally said in the press conference that the issue was the CBI. Well, instead of trying to spin and put it on President Trump, well, tell us what are the issues. You know, tell your citizen what are the issues. Now, not to me, I know what the issues are. I'm the most well informed when it comes to what's the problem within the CBI. The Prime Minister at the end of the press conference said that he knew when he came to office that the biggest challenge of his mandate will be the CBI. What does it mean? What is it that he knew about the CBI that made it the biggest challenge? So it's that incapacity to call a spade and to be direct because they know precisely what are the problems. So don't spin it. And my message to Denzel Douglas is, don't try to spin this on Donald Trump. You know what happened. You know what took place. You know who took money. Don't do that. Redemption will have to come. And don't use the fact that you know that I refuse to release the bank statement until a certain time to try to spin it against Donald Trump. Because that's not going to go along with me. And that's, I think, is my issue, is that incapacity to tell because look, he said in a press conference that some students have been denied their visa already. Okay, so there is a problem, and I've told you in my last podcast that the next 3 months of this administration will be the most challenging this country has ever faced. And for that, it starts by honesty. It starts by telling the truth. And because no matter what, and I'm going to stop because otherwise I'm going to, take too much of your time, the truth will always come out. The truth has already started to come out. And for the people that have doubted what I was saying for the past year and a half, I've said it over and over. It is now in the hands of the US Justice Department and Homeland Security, and now the State Department. So the truth, and I'm going to use an expression of Prime Minister Drew, the truth is on its way. And I have given some people in the country the ability to come to my lawyer office and to review major evidence so that the truth can be spread. You understand? So I think that, first of all, if you want to resolve the issue with, listen, I don't want to, they are now going to have to face what they've done. But I wanted to say that don't try to put on Donald Trump what you've created with the Chinese when you were Prime Minister 15 years ago. Don't do that. We have enough bank information to dispin that at any time. That's what I wanted to say. And that's what my reaction was to that press conference of, or the fair share, just incapacity. But again, like I said, you also have to say if there are something positive that are being done, and so that's my first reaction.
As I have said time and time again, there's no doubt in my mind, I should be there be no doubt in anyone's mind, that every political party that has been leading this country since existence have made some positive impact on the country. There's no dispute there. The issue that I have currently is that for years as a young man, I never got caught up in the political scene in the Federation. And thanks to Timothy Harris, I don't think had he locked me down in quarantine back in 2020 during COVID, I would have been where I am today in the political arena. But I have always been told that God knows what he's doing and he leads us in a direction where he wants us to be. A good friend of mine passed away last week, Brother Eustace Hendrickson, who is a very big fan of this podcast. He reached out to me nightly whenever I close off, and he always gives me his input and thanking me for being who I am and doing what I am doing for our beloved Federation. And he have always said to me, Mr. Marisha, you would have never known your talent in what you are doing now if it wasn't for COVID. So make the best of it and continue to spread the information across the globe and make sure that you hold these politicians accountable. It doesn't matter which party it is. I say all of that. Go ahead.
Well, because look, at the end of the day, right, what took place for the past 15 years and more in the CBI is your business, right? And let me explain to you why it's your business, right? We are discussing with some officials in St. Lucia and some big lawyers in New York, right? What legal avenue to recover the missing money, right? You need to, and I know that you've explained that in your podcast. My company has provided in the court of St. Kitts in the lawsuit against Terence Drew, the evidence that 150 contracts were fraudulent and the money was not paid, right? Now, because of that, the national security director of your country sent a letter to those 150 applicants to pay the balance. And a lot of them have paid. So because of my action, Mr. Mauricio, Mr. Garfield, money has come into your country because of MSR legal action. Now, here's my issue. You're talking about, why are we talking about 150 passports when it should be tens of thousands of passports that are in that situation? Why have they fought against me and said the most awful things about me because I exposed the fact that money, billions of dollars, is being defrauded from the people? I should have gotten an award for that. and the fact that the people don't realize that all that money can be recovered and it's billions, it's mind-blowing. But I have to tell you, things are moving very fast right now, okay? And like I said, the next 3 months are going to be really, really hard, okay? But hard in a good way. Hard for the truth to come out finally. And then, there are lawyers in New York that are prepared to assist with some individual to recover those billions of dollars for the people, right? Because you need that money.
Mr. Martinez, don't mean to interrupt you, but what I want the people to understand is why we are where we are today. Your original case was the underselling of the passport.
Yeah.
And though our campaign in 22 was about those critical issues where the prison project was corrupt, it was not done correctly, there is mass fraudulent things taking place and whatever. When you sound the alarm, you was attacked and said there is no underselling, it's not true. When the Prime Minister and his team knew, because we campaigned against it prior to being elected, and even after he was elected, he went into Parliament and present the case as if he weren't part of the problem, and to the extent that he was blaming the former Prime Minister for everything, only to find out later that he had signed the majority of the CORs. And I am saying only to find out later that he have signed off on the majority of those CORs because he have not denied it.
He can't deny it. He can't, but most importantly, right, the company that are involved, the main company involved in the fraud has not even been blacklisted. No sanction has been. Look, the fraud started under Douglas, and then Timothy continued with Galaxy and exploded, right? But at the end of the day, they all did it. They all processed fraudulent application. And the judgment day will be when everything goes down, and it has started just a little bit right now, okay? And that the people will realize that we were telling the truth from day one, and where is our money? You understand? Because at the end of the day, it's about billions of dollars that have been defrauded from these people of this country. So when I see their ponytail show or what they've tried to do to attack us, at the end of the day, I'm very comfortable. We can have discussion together with Secretary of State Rubio, or the Department of Justice, or the lady who's in charge of the U.S. Embassy in Barbados, right? And the Prime Minister and Mr. Foreign Minister Dougie, right? Everybody knows who I am. And every one of these people knows the fact. You understand? So what I see happening in those press conferences is pure silence and propaganda, which has not started now. It has started decades ago, where silence is, there is no need for accountability. Drew said that it's crazy that the CBI represents 60% of the revenue of a country. He's right. But when you look at all these projects, Baster High School, Art Center, all of those airport, all those are CBI projects as well. You understand? So the Judgment Day is when people will realize that all those things that were happening right now, those courageous podcasts that you're doing, Ian Patches also is denouncing that, because you had access to information. I think it's no secret that you guys went to my lawyer office and you saw the video confession of Les Khan, the head of the program, and how he explained that the whole corruption system works and who are the politicians getting paid. Now, that's not me saying. That's the head of the program, who's not the head of Caribbean Galaxy. Now, everybody is asking me, please put that in the public domain. No, I will not, because what? It's going to be 2 days talking, and then everybody will forget about it. No.
It's funny that you said that, because like I said to someone, we campaigned in 22 about the corruption and the prison project, and we was all in it together. I was loved by the labor colleagues. I was their comrade. And here comes, fast forward to 2025. Well, 2024 is when I realized that the Prime Minister did not only continued with the prison project, amongst other things. He have done worse than the former Prime Minister. And I decided to call him out, and now I am the bad man, because they are trying to convince me that the system is corrupt and it will never change. So don't say anything, just stay silent. But if corruption is bad on a Monday and it continues on a Friday, isn't it still corruption?
Yeah, but look, I was speaking for about an hour this morning with Mark Brinkley, right, on that subject. And because, people have the impression that I have conversation with everybody, okay, still today, right? And he informed me of an initiative that he took a decade ago, which I won't reveal because it wouldn't be nice. But the truth always come out. And the difference between before and now is two things. One, every intelligence, law enforcement American is aware of and has all the information, right? And the Prime Minister knows that. He doesn't tell that to. I've invited him and the AG to meet. Not invited, I suggested strongly many times But the Douglas has a strategy for 20 years, which is silence, don't explain, it's going to pass. I don't think it's going to pass this time. But I'm very comfortable to say that this time, nobody is going to get away. You cannot have ministers, and I'm not going to mention who, but that have the equivalent of trying to give you an idea, because I don't want to say numbers, but like the equivalent of 900 low-income houses on offshore bank accounts. You can't have that. You can't have that and then go to the people and say, my brother, my sisters, because Philippe has the data. Philippe gave everything to the Americans. And I will not stop. This is insane. When I hear that the housing project is collapsed, and we know that some minister, one in particular, has the equivalent to build and donate and find God and build 900 low-income houses for his brother and his sister, I tell you what, he's never going to enjoy his money. Because we're going to hunt that money forever. We're going to expose that money forever. So you may as well donate it now. Do you understand? It's the hypocrisy that's mind-blowing. So I'm not saying numbers. When I see, Timothy Harry saying, I got nothing. Okay, Timothy. And you know what? I'm not submitting anything. I'm just going to wait. It's in the hands of the American government. Me, I'm just a small guy. It's shocking. It's just shocking. And we know, move your money now, because now the big thing is India. Now that Dev Bass is in India, so the money that was sitting in Dubai banks is now moving to India.
Mr. Martinez, do you realize that this is hurricane season?
No? Why?
Yeah. In the Caribbean, hurricane season is from June to November.
So
are we going to be having an economic hurricane on the Federation during this season? That's what you're telling me?
What you have is a economic slavery. That's okay. What you have. And what you have is 20 years of corruption, fraud, that the price is going to have to come. The people are going to have to pay the price for what they've done. And listen, things don't happen overnight. You can't expect things just happen like that. It took a long time. It took a long time to get those subpoena and track every account of all those people, and then go to another bank and then call people. But it's anyway. I'd like your reaction on that. But yes, I think that you are about. That's what I said, to face. But I don't think that it's a hurricane. I don't think it's a hurricane. I think it's a liberation of a system that has depraved the people of billions of dollars. So I think it's a beautiful sunshine.
Well, it's going to be sunshine for the people, but it's going to be a hurricane for the bad actors. It's going to be a storm for the bad actors.
I don't know. I'd like to hear a little bit about Mr. Garfield or Mr. Benta about the reaction of what you say.
I am just about to ask Mr. Garfield, and he's burning to ask some question. I was just about to bring him into the conversation. Tap your screen, open your mic there, Dr. Garfield.
Yes, yes. I was just waiting patiently for my turn. Yeah, I'm often flabbergasted by Mr. Martinez. Like even when I try to profile him, yeah, every time we have a show like this, he loses me because he has such a finger on the pulse of St. Kitts. Even the words he used, even the metaphor he used. He said he ain't gonna use numbers, but 900 homes, because that has been touted that during our whole history, the ownership of land and ownership of homes have always been one of the most liberating factors, spiritually, economically, physically, familially. So to use that metaphor actually made it worse because the numbers could get lost on persons, and we have a disparity when it comes to. I was even speaking about this about wealth and rich and that. And when I was growing up in the 80s, that wasn't so, because a man was deemed respected and wealthy, even if he didn't have anything, just for being known for his hard work and for being upright. I grew up in a St. Kitts that had that. But now everything is a measure of numbers. So they have some people who feel like there are certain ministers in here that would have that because they're so brilliant and they've been so out in this world because they're persons who don't think highly of themselves. So I love the fact that you use that metaphor there.
Well,
So
because I do, because first of all, I don't want to use specific amounts and banks and stuff like that, and uh, which bank they're using. We know everything on every politician. We have all the bank transaction, right? Which is why I'm asking them kindly, at least don't even try to spin that on trying to blame President Trump to try to protect his country for what you've done. Because then I'm going to get really upset and I'm going to start to release documents that nobody will like. And I don't want to do that. I want to let the Justice Department do what they have to do.
okay.
But know your place. Know your place.
I don't think there'll be one because we've established this before. These men will allow this nation, this country, this ministry to burn just to be kings, PSs, prime ministers of the ashes. But I was making an interesting correlation, and I'm glad you summed it up. Mr. Marshall said that an economic hurricane, and you made sure you understood. You said no, it's been economic slavery. We've been living through economic slavery, and it's a liberation that we're heading to. So for the persons that are listening, because Mr. Marisha is big on that, and I want to also like start to change my message and my language so persons could get and have huge takeaways. So a lot of us are biblical. A lot of us were brought up in this Kittitian Christian society, as we call it. So we know of the Israelites and them being enslaved or colonized in Egypt, right? So
We were slaves too, okay?
we can get into that. But as I'm just saying this because biblically everybody knows of this story,
Yeah.
right? I want people to understand that there were Israelites who colluded with the Egyptians. There were some who chose to stay in what was known as slavery there, whereas Moses took those that chose to go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to liken Moses very much to Papa Bradshaw. So really and truly those that left with Bradshaw or followed the tenets of Bradshaw could never say we're enslaved anymore. And he said that too. He said, guys, we no longer are politically enslaved. All our leaders are the same color as us. We are only economically enslaved. He said that. So Bradshaw took us, like Moses, from Egypt, the enslavement, the colonization. Some choose to stay, whether in the mines or physically, and took us out. So we are in the wilderness. And if you who remember the story quite rightly, God, after some were worshiping idols, taking up other leaders, going, some even said they want to go back to Egypt. He decreed that the people would stay in the wilderness for 40 years. 40 years is the equivalent in medicine of 2 generations. That Windrush generation of Mr. Mauritius ilk, Mr. Mauritius is the exception, of Dougie, Dwyer, and all these guys, those guys can't take us into the promised land. And when I say the promised land, I don't mean a physical space or a place where thinkers is just abundance. Is where we understand it, and every Kittian has a liberated mind to make a more educated and a more informed decision. Because people are choosing to be misinformed. People are choosing to not be informed. And that's by their choice. So again, Mr. Marsha, he knows I'm always saying this. We need to change our message because our message can't be to convince anymore. And it really can't be to inform anymore. All the information is out there by a simple Google search. I was able to get the contract for Christopher Harvey on a Google search. I couldn't believe.
Yes, but
so
Mr.
Again,
Garfield, the
hold on. I'm coming right to you. Go ahead.
Look, there is nothing new that I can say that I haven't said before, right? Until we see some action coming from America, okay? And as you know, you saw the press conference yesterday, they finally confessed that the issue with the visa is because of the CBI, right? Which, I'm sorry, is what I've been saying all the time, right? The truth is about to come out, because after 20 years of fraud and corruption or more, what's to wait another 2 or 3 or 4 months? It's nothing. Believe me, I'm as impatient as you.
No, I wasn't getting that. I was saying that again. Just like in the 40 years of the Bible that these people were in the wilderness, it's been the same 40 years. Our CBI was started in 1984. So it's the same 40 years of all that hiding, collusion, corruption. It's 40 years that the Palm administration before. So this goes even before Dr. Douglas. This shows a clear history, a clear cycle of repeating of not only corrupt leadership.
And I have to tell you,
Mr. Martinez, I want you to give me a chance because I've given both of you a chance.
Sure. Of course. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I'm getting around and we are saying the same thing, but just in different language. So these guys, it's not even a matter that it will be a choice or a change, just like you've been saying. These guys, until they refuse to be clear, to be transparent, to be actual leaders. Yeah, and that's not going to happen. Their time is up. It's been 40 years. The reckoning is now. It's been 2 generations. So which means 2 generations have risen up with more consciousness, more awareness. So it's for us now to take charge and make better decisions. So for those who want to continue under that misleadership, or for those who want to continue being misled, that will be a choice of theirs. But the system itself is failing because what they've built cannot sustain itself. But I can get around now to the press conference. That was deeply reminiscent of the team Unity just before they won the last when they won the last election. They were given this appearance that everything was well. And then later on, you find out Mark Bentley was very angry. He was disturbed. And then Timothy Harris fired all of his ministers, nearly all of his ministers. So it was the same song and dance, the same pony show, the same theatrics, the same floodgate of photo ops. And again, this is not Garfield saying this. It's all there and via social media for you to see. All that was there. The same thing over and over. That's all I saw yesterday. I saw our leader take up his entire cabinet and in the most dictatorial manner, in a manner he has never done it before, even dictatorial to the press. And what was, I really, it pained me to even watch what was going on. Because again, if you've been leading, if you've been accomplishing, if you've been doing, it needs no show. It needs no pedestal because the people will be applauding you because it will be done. If you have to remind them, if you have to show them, it has not been done. So that, whatever theatrics that was yesterday, again, it will be telling to the persons who are actually listening and who are actually cognizant of what's going on. For the others, again, they will dance to the music. Dr. Douglas and Dr. Drew, and I'm going to speak about the two of them at the same time because, again, Dr. Drew, again, proves to us that this is a culmination of yet another Labour leader of a party that's supposed to be people-centered, showing you they don't care about the poor people, showing you that Mr. Martinez has more involved, has more oomph, has more bars, has more leadership to go out there and get what is ours and show us you need to go and get yours and how the way to get ours. And they still do not. And this isn't just on the matter of prime ministership. This is the National Security Ministry. These are all the ministries and the authorities and the justice system colluding because they have not intervened. And these men are only as powerful as we allow them to be. So if we ask them to lead, gave them to put the position of leadership, and they're not leading, if they're not carrying out their fiduciary duty, if they're not carrying out what they promised and placed their hands on Bibles to do, there's no reason for us to even be having this long song and dance. If we're this disgruntled.
But look, as you know, in 2024, my lawyers in Washington filed a federal whistleblower complaint, and we named the big player, right, at the Department of Justice and at FinCEN, right, for St. Kitts and St. Lucia, okay? And, but none of it could have been possible without a network of companies in Dubai, in China, and people in those countries, here in your country, that have benefited from the fraud. And I've never mentioned their names before because in the fall, we are making a new RICO case, right? With, I think, when they're going to realize because my lawyers in Washington, Miller Chevalier, they now represent me for the whistleblower thing, right? But for the new RICO case, we have selected a New York-based law firm, and I think that they're going to be very surprised when they find out who's our lawyer for the new RICO case. I'm going after every single of the entities and individual that has participated to the fraud in all those countries, right? Because when you have people that you cross the street in your own country and they've made millions of dollars on your back, that's not fair. So those people needs to be exposed too. You understand? And some are family members of ministers. Some are big lawyers. Some are banker offshore in Nevis. They need to be exposed, every single one of them. You understand? Because something of that, look, what took place in the CBI, in all those Caribbean, is it's almost like a humanitarian crisis, in a way where you have population that needs the money, that need infrastructure, and members of the civil society and officials have deprived them of having that money to allow those underselling, which means that the money never came into the country. People have to be accountable.
Gentlemen,
so
agreed.
Gentlemen, we are here speaking, and the purpose of this podcast really is to empower the citizens or whoever listen to this podcast with facts. And I think we have spoken about what have transpired, the MSR situation and whatever, but what some people try to forget and what this Prime Minister tried to do is to avoid how we arrive where we are. So if you guys give me a few minutes to play this clip, it's a little lengthy, but you will be able to have a much better conversation, because what this clip is going to tell you is our Prime Minister, after he was elected, went into Parliament, basically beating the drum about the prison project, how bad it was, how fraudulent it was, the criminal situation, the farmer administration. And during all of this presentation, the Prime Minister knew at the time that the underselling was real.
But can I ask you one quick question before you play the clip?
Could you let me finish, please? Then you could
Sure.
ask the question.
Sure.
The Prime Minister knew while he was making this presentation in Parliament to the country that the underselling was real. He was aware of that. He knew he had signed off on the majority of those CORs and giving the country and the world the impression that Timothy was the gangster that sell, as I call it, these passports. The impression he was giving in this clip is that basically half of our population was given away in passports. This is the presentation that this Prime Minister was giving in this presentation. That's what got me involved with Mr. Benter to do an investigation, because remember, is while during playing this clip at one of my events, Mr. Martinez, I'm gonna blow your cover. You sent me a message while I was playing that clip and saying to me that you realize I am an honest gentleman. You realize I love my country. You realize I support my Prime Minister. But suppose you tell me that my Prime Minister have sold, have signed off on more CORs than Timothy, while he's telling us different. I said to you, provide the facts. When you provide the facts, then we take it from there. You provide the information. I challenged the Prime Minister and he denied it. But to date, now that everything come full circle, he has yet to deny it. So where we are, I don't want the citizens to be hearing just from us on this podcast. I want them to hear the Prime Minister in his own voice, telling the country the damage that was done by allowing Galaxy to get 5,500 shares, which equal to some 22,000 or more passports. Let the people hear from the Prime Minister, not just us. Go ahead, Mr. Martinez.
I wanted to ask you, I think we don't have to have secret, because we're not secret people. We are direct. You guys and some other people, podcaster, went to my lawyer office and you watch the video film confession of Lescan explaining the corruption system in the CBI and who are the 5 politicians, 5 that are benefiting of that. How did you feel as Kititian? How did you feel? Hello, can you hear me?
Well, I cannot speak for Mr. Alexander. I can say to you I was sick to my stomach that whole evening, following looking at that clip. But Mr. Garfield, you could respond for yourself.
It's not a clip. It's a 45-minute video interview.
It was more than 45 minutes, Mr. Martinez.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I was sick to my stomach.
I went through about 3 phases. 1, I was kind of numb for a bit. And then 2, again, and I think I said this afterwards. Or maybe I didn't get a chance to. Like I said, I was impressed by Mr. Martinez, but what I saw him do deal. Like, I was in awe because he was putting his life at risk. Like, every time I hear you say you're in your bunker and I know he's far, far away, I know, I'm the only one exposed in that risk. But when I saw him do that, like go out there and just the way he was questioning, you could tell that he wasn't gathering information just for his case. No. He was hell-bent on exposing the whole kit and caboodle. So that had been where is his support? Where is our defense? Where is our police, our DPP? This is questions I've been asking myself from the very get-go, because he could be a whistleblower and going all in, but it's from the very first time I was hearing his voice. Now I'm seeing him on camera, and then all the facts are rolling out. So I'm just saying, like, he's at the heart of it, and he shouldn't be at the heart of it. He shouldn't be at the heart of it, especially if we campaigned on hate.
No, Mr. Garfield, I gave the opportunity to the Director of Public Prosecution to do something about it. He came to my lawyer office like you did, and he watched it. And then
Gentlemen, like I said, for the benefit of the public, I'm going to drop this clip. And then following this clip, we could have any amount of conversation we want about it, because I want the citizens to know that while the Prime Minister was in Parliament putting on this performance, he knew everything. He signed off on those CORs prior. He was aware that he's misleading the country. Please allow me to do that, and we could continue our conversation.
As the honourable member for St. Christopher.
Madam Speaker, with your leave, I rise to lead the debate on the bill shortly entitled Citizenship by Investment Unit, Bill 2024. I rise, Madam Speaker. Before I get into it, Madam Speaker, I find it necessary to speak to the people, our dear people, Madam Speaker, frankly and honestly, as I've always done when it comes to our citizenship by investment program. Madam Speaker, many questions have been asked, many things have been said, many answers have been given. But of course, Madam Speaker, the questions keep arising and the answers given. And so today, I will continue in that vein, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I must be blunt and direct with our people in the spirit of openness, transparency, and the principles of good governance. Particularly given the recent media discussions about the CBI, Madam Speaker. It is a fact that our CBI program is at the crossroads. Also, it is a fact that our CBI program is under attack. However, many of the allegations made about our CBI program are false. Many of the things said are based on rumor and are not facts, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is why I have said repeatedly that CBI is the most challenging issue I inherited when I took office to lead this federation, of course mandated by the people, on August 6, 2022, when I was sworn in at our government house. Madam Speaker, I want to remind our people that from day one, I was upfront, open, and transparent, and always said to the people that this issue of the CBI is very challenging and would be the most challenging for our administration. Possibly then, Madam Speaker, it may not have been fully understood, but I think as time goes on and many things are said and the media is in a frenzy, I think to a great extent now our people have come to fully realize and understand why I would have made those statements very early in my term. Nevertheless, Madam Speaker, I was not daunted. We were not daunted as an administration. This cabinet that I lead with the A-team, we acted swiftly and decisively to clean up the mess that we met, Madam Speaker. I said from the beginning that all programs, ministries, departments, civil servants, those who do business with the civil service, all will come under the code of good governance. We do not seek perfection, Madam Speaker, but we seek continued improvement in our governance here in our Twin Island Federation. Madam Speaker, this mess that was left by the Team Unity administration, whose key decision makers cared nothing about the value of our citizenship, Madam Speaker, nor the integrity of our now 40-year-old CBI program. And there I dare say, Madam Speaker, they did not even really care about this federation, St. Kitts and Nevis. They cared more about themselves. It is a stark example of putting self above nation, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for those who are not aware, our Constitution and Citizenship Act allow persons who invest substantially in our country to apply for the privilege to become a citizen. Since 1984, those applicants who successfully satisfy our due diligence requirements and invest substantially can be issued a certificate of registration as a citizen and thereafter a St. Kitts and Nevis passport if they so apply. Madam Speaker, what we did is to make sure that we would have done all that was necessary to set our CBI program as we sought to set the whole government on a good path towards good governance. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I wish to speak to our people about the carefully planned actions taken by the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration to reform our CBI, which has led to this bill being debated today. We took swift and decisive actions, and I committed to leading major CBI reforms to protect the reputation of St. Kitts and Nevis and the program itself, Madam Speaker. Our country's reputation needed to be salvaged. Our country itself needed to be salvaged, Madam Speaker, because as I would mention even later in more detail, that because of the mismanagement of the last administration, our economy became then, under that administration, to be heavily dependent on the CBI program. Madam Speaker, hadn't they learned the lessons from when we were so heavily dependent on sugar? And what happened in 2005? Hadn't they learned the lessons that were had from our over-dependence on the tourist sector? It is only a diversified economy that can give us a resilient St. Kitts and Nevis. But people, through mismanagement, self-interest, and putting self above nation, brought our economy to depend heavily on this sector that was described by the IMF as a volatile sector, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on taking office on August 6, 2022, my cabinet of ministers were inaugurated on August 13, 2022. One of the first orders of business was to solicit and receive a report on CBI in cabinet, Madam Speaker. We received that initial report on October 3rd, 2022, just a few weeks after taking office, Madam Speaker. Thereafter, we ordered a comprehensive legislative review of the CBI regulations. I then scheduled my first official visit to Dubai, the UAE, in December of 2022 to meet with CBI agents and stakeholders to announce the major reforms we decided to make to the CBI regulations. Dubai is the epicenter of CBI globally, and that is why I traveled there, Madam Speaker. In Dubai, on December 1st, 2022, I announced our evolved CBI program founded on sustainability and good governance. I also spoke to CBI stakeholders about the proposals in draft CBI regulations. Madam Speaker, this is December of 2022, less than 6 months of taking office. Significant measures were already taken to strengthen our CBI program and to safeguard it. Back then, Madam Speaker, I was criticized vehemently by members from the past unity administration about these changes that we were making, Madam Speaker. I was criticized vehemently by some agents and some service providers, Madam Speaker, because what was taking place, Madam Speaker, we had to make sure that it was placed on the principles of good governance to protect the reputation, but not only the reputation of the country itself, Madam Speaker, and to see how we can build a more sustainable program so that our country can be more resilient. Madam Speaker, on December 23rd, 2022, after wide stakeholder consultation, new CBI regulations were enacted into law. A board of governors was introduced to oversee operations of CIU, review developer applications, and prepare submissions to Cabinet. In addition to that, Madam Speaker, a technical committee was set up to review files and advise me as the minister with responsibility for citizenship. Madam Speaker, we criminalize in those regulations underselling. For the first time, it became a crime that, of course, carries penalties, Madam Speaker. That is how serious we were about making sure that the CBI would be set as the whole of government on the principles of good governance. Madam Speaker, underselling occurs when a CBI stakeholder seeks to discount the statutory minimum investment sum required to be made by an applicant seeking to apply for citizenship by investment. By December 2022, we had been informed that underselling practices became normal in the overall CBI industry, Madam Speaker. I'm not speaking of St. Kitts and Nevis, I'm talking about this as an industry all over. We, however, would not tolerate such practices and therefore made it specifically a criminal offense for the first time in 40 years, or in the 40-year history of our CBI program, Madam Speaker. On February 9, 2023, after more consultation, we published amended CBI regulations which further strengthened procedural application requirement. The amendment introduced advertisement restrictions and new international marketing agent due diligence requirements. Madam Speaker, these were seen in the industry as being draconian, Madam Speaker. But had we not taken these measures, where would we be today, Madam Speaker? Even though we are at the crossroads and we are being hurt because of what was done and is being done. Had we not done anything, Madam Speaker, there would be no hope. And therefore, I stand tall today to say that the decisions that were made to adjust the regulations to protect the program, protect our reputation, protect St. Kitts and Nevis, that I feel justified in doing so. But that was not guesswork, Madam Speaker. It was foresight, analysis, and the seriousness to set this industry also on the principles of good governance. Madam Speaker, as mentioned, we did the CBI regulations and we strengthened the procedural application requirement. And we made sure that people would not be out there advertising St. Kitts and Nevis citizenship by investment as if you were selling sugar cake and a corner. Come get one, this amount of pop. Well, which country you want people to speak of in that manner? Definitely not our country. We also rein in international marketing agents and made sure that due diligence requirements were applied. Madam Speaker, I must reiterate again that because of this, we were heavily criticized. I was particularly heavily criticized because I am the minister responsible for CBI. Madam Speaker, on February 25th, 2023, after only 6 months of being in office, the historic U.S. Caribbean Roundtable and CBIs was held in St. Kitts, right here at Park Hyatt. All of the 5 prime ministers of CBI operating Caribbean states were present. I think it's 4. along with officials from the U.S. Treasury Department, the governor of the ECCB, Governor Antoine, and heads of the CBI units in the respective countries. At that meeting, 6 principles were agreed by all 5 CBI states. 1, collective agreement on treatment of denials. 2, virtual or in-person interviews during due diligence process. 3, additional financial intelligence unit checks of applicants already in force in St. Kitts and Nevis. 5, annual or biannual independent audits of CIUs. 5, retrievals of cancelled passports. And 6, suspension of particular nationalities, Madam Speaker. That was already in force here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Madam Speaker, with this, we then went about implementing each of these 6 principles in our CBI program. On March 7, 2023, we came into this National Assembly, Madam Speaker, and passed the historic Anti-Corruption Act and fundamental amendments to the Integrity in Public Life and Freedom of Information Acts as part of this administration's good governance transformation. We did this for the good of our nation, saving our reputation, our program, and our nation in and of itself. Madam Speaker, to protect our nation in the future from people of the same ilk as some of the men and women who sat in cabinet under the corrupt Team Unity disaster, Madam Speaker. I will say it all the time. Almost every program was corrupted under the previous administration. Madam Speaker, the work home and abroad to restore the good name of St. Kitts and Nevis continued. On July 17, 2023, I attended the EU CELAC Summit in Brussels, Belgium, and met with the EU Commissioner about the CBI, Madam Speaker. After that meeting, I immediately came back home and ordered a further review of our CBI regulations. 10 days later, on July 27, 2023, new CBI regulations were enacted with the fundamental price changes. US $250,000 minimum investment for the Sustainable Island State Contribution and Public Benefit Options. The real estate option minimum investment was increased, and private homes also. An option, private home option minimum investment was increased to $800,000. On that date, we also, by order, banned applications from other nationalities, from other nations, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as you can see, with less than 1 year in office, we made fundamental changes to our CBI program. All of this was done to save the program, Madam Speaker. It wasn't by accident. You haven't heard enough lies. It wasn't a strategic, it was a strategic and well thought out plan of action, Madam Speaker. That is why today we can stand tall and have the opportunity to salvage our CBI program. Because we were not giving lip service, but our actions were, of course, our words were backed by our actions, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, you know what was a key element of our reform planning? Maintaining constant communication with our international partners. This was done from day one. We provided them with reports and updates on our applications, our processes, our due diligence service providers, and whatever information they considered important for their own, for their analysis, mainly for their security, Madam Speaker. Further, on August 18, 2023, St. Kitts and Nevis CBI officials, led by Attorney General, met with UK Home Office about our new CBI regulations and practices. On October 26, 2023, our same team of officials met with the US Treasury Department in Florida, along with officials from Caribbean CBI states, to discuss progress on US Caribbean Roundtable 6 agreed principles, Madam Speaker. On January 25th, 2024, the team met with EU visa officials in Dominica to update them on new regulations and current practices. Madam Speaker, we have maintained constant dialogue and engagement with our international partners. However, we knew that the prison project had contributed to over 20,000 new citizenships being granted in a short period of time, Madam Speaker. This is the travesty. The travesty in all of this, Madam Speaker. 20,000, Madam Speaker, citizenships, over 20,000 to 25,000 new citizenships being granted in a short period of time. Madam Speaker, let's pause for a moment on that. How can anyone grant 25,000 citizenships for prison? 25,000 based on the new census, and the Minister of Sustainability is here, Senator Honorable Dr. Joya Clark, that we are about 53,000 residents here in St. Kitts and Nevis, both citizens and residents. 53,000, Madam Speaker. And for a prison, you give up to 25,000 new citizenships. Madam Speaker, this is a travesty. It is borderline treason. On a prison project, you have granted citizenships to up to 25,000 citizens, half of your population. Madam Speaker, if any percentage of those persons were to come here, what will happen to St. Kitts and Nevis? But nobody was thinking about St. Kitts and Nevis. People were thinking about themselves, Madam Speaker. Putting self above nation. This is a travesty. And I want history to record that I inform the people of this. Our children must know this. Our grandchildren must also know this. This cannot be hidden from the people. This is a travesty, Madam Speaker. Any leader who grants 25, 50% of your population in citizenship by investment over prison, any leader who does that, Madam Speaker, should never be able to face the people again. Madam Speaker, this hurts badly, you know. Each time I watch the number, I call the AG. AG, is this real? Is this number real? 25,000? Over a prison project? In such a short period of time, committing the country to this? Committing the government to this? Madam Speaker, every citizen should be outraged by this. This was totally unnecessary. Our country should not have been subjected to this risk, Madam Speaker, with this high number of citizenships over prison. Madam Speaker, I have more statistics to give because we have continued to do our work and more information is being revealed. Madam Speaker, to this, one of our international partners even commented, we know that St. Kitts and Nevis under the new administration had slowed down the water flow of citizenship by investments. But what about the dirty bath water? They're asking me, what about what has already been gone? Your administration, Mr. Prime Minister, you have done significant amount of work. You have implemented stricter regulations than any other jurisdiction that does this. But we are asking about what was gone. I can't fully account for what was gone, Madam Speaker. There are those who must account for that. And therefore, my response is always that this administration will do what is necessary to make sure that we protect our program, our country, and that we are no risk to you. 20,000, Madam Speaker, up to 25,000 is a travesty. And then people come talking about how they love their country. You don't love your country by words, you love your country by action. But Madam Speaker, because some people were getting thousands of dollars per citizenship, and that is why they have accounts in the US in the millions, Madam Speaker. This is how bad this thing got. Granted 25,000 citizenships for a prison project. Madam Speaker, later on I will get into more of that. But our international partners knew that Team Unity, what Team Unity had done. They knew what they had done. The horrible mistake was that was the prison project. And we spoke about it before the elections. And we spoke about it after the people would have given us an opportunity. And this has hurt our program, Madam Speaker, has hurt us badly. And I will get into that later on. This might go down in history as the worst decision ever made by any government. Not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but in the Caribbean, Madam Speaker. And time will tell that story. Giving half of your present population in citizenships by investment, that is a serious, serious issue, Madam Speaker, that must be treated as such. Madam Speaker, nevertheless, we were not deterred. We therefore brainstormed and decided in January 2024 to set up St. Kitts and Nevis Continuing International Due Diligence Unit. Madam Speaker, we're not looking at excuses. We know what we have found, and we are determined to seek solutions, Madam Speaker. That is why the international partners recognize the efforts that are being made by this administration, even to our own detriment in terms of our revenues, Madam Speaker. Because we must protect our reputation. We must protect our country, Madam Speaker. And this unit is something new, innovative, within the Ministry of National Security. We call it the CIDD unit, and it will be led by our former Commissioner of Police and now OECS Ambassador to Morocco, Mr. Ian Quilly, a lifetime law enforcement professional. Madam Speaker, we are serious. We have to be mindful about people's security, always, and we want to ensure that we engender the confidence in the international partners, or international partners, that we are serious about their security as well. The CIDD unit will conduct continuing due diligence on citizens by investment worldwide. It will be headquartered in Europe. It will also ensure, one, that citizens holding passports issued by St. Kitts and Nevis and residing and working internationally abide by the laws of the countries in which they reside and visit, and that they respect the international laws as well. Two, alert the Ministry of St. Kitts and Nevis, that's the Ministry of National Security, alert the Ministry of National Security of St. Kitts and Nevis citizens who are being investigated for committing or have been arrested and or charged with financial or other crimes internationally. Three, liaise with and report to international law enforcement, anti-money laundering and anti-terrorist financing agencies when St. Kitts and Nevis citizens are being investigated for committing or have been arrested and or charged with financial or other crimes internationally, Madam Speaker. Four, retrieve passports issued by St. Kitts and Nevis, which have been cancelled by the Minister of National Security, pursuant to passports, or immigration rather, pursuant to Passports and Travel Document Act, Principle 5 of U.S. Caribbean Roundtable on CBIs. If you look at it, it is right there, Madam Speaker. And 5, create policies to mitigate and address any risks associated with SKN citizens who obtain their citizenship via our CBI. Madam Speaker, we are implementing this. Already, other countries are expressing interest in setting up something like this. So we are making sure that there would always be strict security measures to protect ourselves and to protect our international partners, Madam Speaker. We are not just complaining, Madam Speaker, but pointing out the ills that were done, but we are seeking for solution. That is why we were put here, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, despite all these strong, strategic, transparent actions this administration has taken with respect to CBI, we are not out of the woods. We are not out of the woods, Madam Speaker, because there are still things that we are working on, and quickly so, Madam Speaker, and we have been the most aggressive in making sure that we implement the policies that will engender confidence in all who are involved in this industry, including our international partners. Madam Speaker, we are well aware that on March 13, 2024, the EU member states ambassadors agreed their position on a draft regulation which allows the EU to suspend visa-free travel for third countries whose nationals are exempt from visa obligation when traveling to the Schengen area. Madam Speaker, and that news, I immediately, as chairman of the OECS, negotiated the execution of a memorandum of agreement signed by St. Kitts and Nevis, Commonwealth of Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, and Grenada on March 20th, 2024, in which these 4 CBI states agreed. You are correct, 5. Madam Speaker, what were these things that were agreed to? Increase and harmonize the minimum investment threshold to an investment sum of at least US $200,000 no later than June 30th, 2024. So it's quickly approaching, Madam Speaker, quickly approaching. Madam Speaker, 2, end on the selling practices, Madam Speaker. Share information on CBI applicants, implement enhanced transparency measures such as the disclosure of funds received by CBIs, the use of the proceeds of CBIs, and to conduct independent financial and operational audits to assess CBI's compliance with best practice standards. 5, assign or establish a regional competent authority to set standards in accordance with international requirements and best practices and to regulate the CBIs. 6, establish common standards to manage the communications and promotion of the CBIs. 7, establish common standards for the regulation of agents operating in the CBIs. 8, facilitate joint training programs and capacity building initiatives for their respective officials and agencies involved in the administration of CBIs. Madam Speaker, this is the first time that this type of MOA would have been signed by the countries involved in this industry, Madam Speaker. First time. But it was not the first attempt, as some of the prime ministers who were there before me, they would have said in meetings that attempts were made to harmonize the CBI industry here in the sub-region. However, it was never attained. And we have come together, all prime ministers, and we have decided that we need to harmonize. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to announce that St. Lucia, that one state who had not signed the MOA originally, has now signed on June 3rd, 2024. Madam Speaker, just let me get a little bit of water here. Yes, I got it. I am pleased to announce that St. Lucia, the one state who had not signed the MOA originally, has now signed on June 3rd, 2024. St. Lucia also suggested that there be an annual quota, a net worth for applicants, escrow accounts held locally, and a requirement that all licensed promoters be allowed to submit applications, which the heads will be meeting within the next few days to discuss. Madam Speaker, I consider that we are scheduling to meet this Thursday as heads to start to put in place these measures, or to continue putting in place these measures, so that we can meet the June 30th deadline, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, but that is not all. After our team examined the FATF OECD November 2023 report, misuse, where it states, misuse of citizenship and residency by investment programs, and reported to Cabinet, we decided to table the bill being debated today, the Citizenship by Investment Unit Bill 2024, on March 26, 2024. If you recall well, Madam Speaker, and I'm sure you do, that was the first reading. Madam Speaker, my actions as the minister and with this government since taking office speak for themselves, and our thrust for implementing good governance transformation in all areas of government will continue. I am committed to the task at hand, which is to reform St. Kitts and Nevis CBI, save our reputation and protect our nation. This process has been one of my most difficult challenges in office, Madam Speaker. Extremely challenging for a number of reasons. One, the reputation of our country. Two, the protection of our nation. Three, the fact that CBI contributes so significantly to our annual budget in terms of revenues. Four, so that we can continue to have visa-free access with our international partners, Madam Speaker. If anyone analyzes this, he or she will quickly recognize how critically important it is to protect this industry. But again, we are at the crossroads. We are not out of the woods, and it is very, very challenging. But we are up to the task, Madam Speaker. And those who create this problem, Madam Speaker, should never have the gall, as we say in St. Peter's when it is small, have the gall to go before the people to speak about integrity and needing a chance to serve people again. Madam Speaker, this government will continue to transform this nation. I am committed to the task at hand, which is to reform St. Kitts and Nevis CBI. This process has been one of the most difficult in office, and I repeat it because of the four reasons that I gave. But Madam Speaker, with all of this being mentioned, what is the way forward? Madam Speaker, you may be asking, what is the way forward? We have a plan. I have a plan. The goal is to transform St. Kitts and Nevis into a sustainable island state with a diversified economy, less dependent on CBI revenues, Madam Speaker.
Well, gentlemen, that was a piece of listening. You can open your mics. And as painful as it was to listen to that presentation in Parliament, it was important for me to play it, because when you listen to a prime minister lying to himself, basically turning himself in to the people, you have to allow him to do so. If we follow everything that the prime minister spoke about in that clip, you would realize that he knew prior to being elected into office of the underselling and everything that was wrong. He knew that the amount of passport that was granted to this prison project is almost half of our population. He denounced it. But to find out later that he was the one that signed the majority of those CORs, and the problem continues, speaks volume. So I'm going to turn it over to you good gentleman. Mr. Benter, I'm going to give you the opportunity to come in. I know you've been busy. Last week you had some technical issues, you dropped out. So welcome back to the podcast. Quick synopsis of yourself and jump right into the clip we just was listening to?
Sure. Again, my name is Oakland Benta, ex-senator.
Not hearing you, Mr. Bento.
Sorry?
Not hearing you.
Not hearing me.
Okay,
I'm
go
hearing
ahead.
you
Yeah,
loud
I'm
and
hearing you.
clear.
Go ahead. I'm hearing you.
Yes. My name is Oakland Benta, an ex-senator of the U.S. Virgin Islands, an ex-chief of police, and also a ex-vice president of a telecommunication corporation, and of course, working with certain affiliates conducting investigations. It was good for me to hear that. It was quite refreshing. Let me explain to the people of St. Kitts, and some are saying I don't quite understand. Good evening to the other two gentlemen on the panel, and those who are listening by way of your media. $1 million, for instance. And I want the people to understand this clearly. In an account in Dubai, the interest rate between 4 to 6% or 6.25% if you have an account. If you have a high yielding account, that account now provides you at $1 million, $62,500 every month at 6.25. These accounts may be in what you call a compound interest account. So when you compound the interest on an annual basis, and you look at the interest that you gain on $1 million a year, and you compound that, that's over $3 million a year each year on the interest that accrues interest. That's a compound interest funding that you receive from the savings. Now, if you add, and which is the question today, if it's $1 billion, then you're looking at that $62,500 million. I'm trying to show people the numbers and you see what we're talking about, because as I listen to Mr. Martinez, good day, Mr. Martinez, I was listening to Mr. Martinez, I'm going to scold him here tonight a little bit. As Mr. Martinez still have this big heart to work with the Caribbean islands and do what he has to do, and working with a group, as I heard him said, to assist the people again, to assist the people in recovering their funds through other legal avenues. Mr. Martinez, you're a whistleblower, and I know your heart is big. Your heart is big to fight the fight, but you're fighting the fight for everybody except yourself right now.
Because
Mr. Martinez, let Mr. Bento finish, please.
Hold on. And as a whistleblower, I know you're going to say, well, what you're doing is trying to work a way so that people can help themselves, and it's good. But you have now stepped into being what you call a whistleblower. Your heart is too big. You keep fighting a fight that you are no longer in charge of, Mr. Martinez. I know you mean well, and let well take its course, because when you meant well, well was not heard when you delivered well. So now that it's now within the federal purview, let that take its course. I know you love the people. I hear you all the time. I hear Mr. Marisha. But now you're moving in a direction now that will definitely create another spinoff for good. But what needs to be done here now is the people of the country, not the private councils and so forth, Mr. Martinez. The people of the country have to stand up. The people themselves need to take the government to task and take them to court as citizens of the territory. You're trying hard. You've been called so many names, as well as Marisha. You guys been called names that even your children would puke on because of the disgrace they tried to bring as far as shame and scandal into your family for trying to do what's right. And you're doing what's right. But at the same time, doing what's right with a fight where the people themselves are not included in this fight is a fight that just continues to enrich other individuals and skirting around what needs to be done. Let the process take its course. Don't get involved in trying to fight the course privately. It is the
what are you talking about?
Mr. Martinez, could you let Mr. Bento finish, please?
One thing with me, right? And I need this to be clear here tonight. When I speak on a platform that brings sense and prudency to common sense. We're not saying you did anything wrong. I'm saying that you're a whistleblower. You said earlier that you're working with a set of attorneys with St. Lucia, and y'all are working on something as far as getting the citizens to recoup their funds.
No.
It's like,
Mr. Bento, finish your thought, please.
That you guys are working towards legal manners to recover money on the behalf of the citizens of St. Lucia, right?
Attorneys in New York.
Right, but this is not, are they government affiliates?
No.
To the US? Of course not. That's what I'm saying.
No.
I know you mean well. I know you mean well. What needs to happen is the people of the country now needs to come together and have that sort of fight where the citizens become the applicants of fighting for, because you're part of this, Mr. Martinez, is on your side of MSR. You cannot defend the rest of the funds that they acquired to all of the other programs to whomever paid. Those other funds that they acquired was not any part of any legal ramification or contract with MSR. What it is here right now is that you're still fighting for the people, and I applaud that. But yes, you are. If you work with attorneys,
gentlemen,
yes,
let's come back to Goose. Let's come back.
Because we...
Mr. Martinez, please. I just played a clip by the Prime Minister speaking in Parliament about the prison project that we campaign on, that he knew in advance, all of the things he was saying in Parliament. MSR, blow the whistle, complain about the underselling that was brought us to where we are. The conversation I want us to have right now is in regards to that statement, that clip. Let's focus on that. We heard the Prime Minister speaking about all the ills of that prison project. MSR purchased the OTI. With that purchase, they got some CBI shares, which they were to sell or to be sold at $250,000 per share to recoup their costs for the OTI. As a result of whatever bacchanal between the government and MSR claim that there was underselling, the government said there was no underselling. Fast forward to today, we know it was underselling. The government themselves had their PS for the Ministry of National Security sign affidavit that satisfied the court that there was underselling. The Prime Minister is speaking about the former administration selling out the country to the tune of some 22 to 25,000 passports, almost half of the population. While he was making this presentation, he knew what he had done. He knew he was lying to the people. We are not here to debate about what you guys doing here or there. I want us to deal with the issue at hand. What is affecting the Federation? What is affecting the people? What is affecting the CBI? I need to hear your input in regards to what was said in Parliament by the Prime Minister. If you don't have any input on that, I'm going to go to my next clip. We are already heading into our 2-hour podcast. I did not get to speak about the polls last week by Mr. Dan Anderson. I am going to deal with that this evening. So please, let's focus on the prison project, what was said in Parliament, and your position on that. That is what I want us to speak about.
All right, I'm going to give you a very straight answer. Everything that the Prime Minister said in Parliament is correct, except that he forgot to mention that he processed a lot of those applications and that he didn't want to look at the bank account and video confession of the corruption of the people surrounding him. That's it.
And that's it. Basically, that's it.
It's that simple. So everything that he said in Parliament is correct. But and if the Prime Minister wants to play game, it's very simple. He come to DC. We show him the bank account of all his the ministers, right? We show him who benefited in his entourage and in the entourage of Douglas. Okay. We show him who has the equivalent of 900 houses, low income, to fund this country, right? And we show him all, and then we work with him. In terms, and just to finish on what Mr. Banta was saying, the reason I was saying is that in terms of the Justice Department, it's out of my hands. I'm a whistleblower. I have no influence. I give them information on a daily basis. But what is painful for me to hear that Parliament speech that, of course, everyone in the US has heard and that we have analyzed 10 times, he's not lying. He's telling the truth.
About himself. About himself. Because he's party to that situation.
Except that he forgot
he's actually reporting himself.
Yes. So that's, and that's the beauty of that speech is that, right? So let's cut to the chase.
You know what's funny?
I came with our computer and offered him NDAG to watch the video of Les Khan confession, which you guys watch in my lawyer's office. I didn't want to look at it. Well, now they're going to have the opportunity to see what the American government thinks of it and other evidence and the bank accounts. So, it's ridiculous.
You know what's funny, guys? I would not like to see the Prime Minister sit in an interrogation room in any of the US Justice Department for 5 minutes. He would not last because he's telling on himself. Now, you're talking about you went and you did all of this reevaluation of the CBI guidelines. But the country, the people, the Treasury does not get an extra cent. With all of those changes, the money still continues to go to these bad actors. So who is he trying to fool?
And since it was all a fraud and a corruption, then why are you continuing to work with Galaxy?
That's the problem. You blacklist the whistleblower, the person that bring the information to the general public, but you continue with the villain that is committing the crime.
It's such a manipulation on not just his part of everyone that it's the one thing that Mr. Banta is correct. I'm taking care now on the new RICO case of all the one around them, okay? To put a spotlight on those guys and sue them and recover my money. My lawyers in St. Kitts are working on something else, right? We can have a discussion with the US Embassy, with the State Department, with the Department of Justice. They know every single thing, which is why in our last podcast, I said some people, it's not because they moved to India and made some people Indian attaché that people will get away, okay? So it's a joke. Okay. It's tragic comic if it was not affecting the livelihood of people in a scale that will be the biggest financial crime these countries have ever went through. And you know what? They know it already. They know what the Americans know already. So...
and to add to what you're saying, Felipe, and I thank you for that, and where I was taking the script, I have to protect you as well. The Prime Minister, based on his presentation, spoke about actions to be taken by the government if any or any of these individuals under the CBI program are involved in money laundering, terrorism, any sort of infraction.
Yeah.
There's no double jeopardy here based on the program. Double jeopardy means that because they're being charged by the United States, that the other nation can take charge as well. Of all the individuals who've been arrested under the CBI program, based on what the Prime Minister said today, what legal recourse has the government of St. Kitts and Nevis taken against all these individuals who are arrested under the US flag or in the UK? Not one step.
Let's, first of all, he didn't say that today. He said that last year.
That speech was 24.
Okay. Right, but he still said it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they don't know to date from 2024 to 2025. Anybody has been arrested under the program?
I think you're right. The U.S. authority, Department of Justice, Homeland Security are handling that.
No, but hear what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think I don't want to discuss that, but because I think that's something that he's going to have to discuss with them. When I say...
No, not you. Listen to what I'm saying.
Mr. Benter, your point is taken. What Philip is saying, I think is correct.
But I hear what he's saying.
Yes, but leave that one, please. Mr. Alexander, your hand was up. I'm gonna come back a little finish up. I'm sending you a private message, Mr. Benter. Read your phone. Yeah, brother Alexander.
I don't want to start unless I'm going to get an uninterrupted chance.
I would ensure that.
So Mr. Martinez put up here, and he knows him always. Yeah. As Mr. Martinez and myself, like I had enough. So if you didn't send me a message and tell me, just be patient because I want the persons to understand. It's afterwards I could grasp the gravity of what this young man was saying. And like you said, he was essentially telling on himself, but he didn't just tell on himself. I can just run through a list of stuff that not stuff that he mentioned, but salient points. He was dating back as far back as October 3rd, 2022. Yeah, he knew all this information, that he demanded a legislative review and major reforms and regulations, a board of directors. So with all that went on then before, and all that found out, and all that has been going on until then, where are these persons on this board of directors? What have they been doing? Doesn't it form part of their duty to protect and preserve and carry out a lot of these things? All right, so that's one. He criminalized, he makes sure he highlighted that, he criminalized on the selling. I don't even think then, because I listened to the speech live, and none of these things was so salient to me. I just want you all to grasp that. In one moment in time, I was listening to this, and I was a gushing young man thinking, yeah, my prime minister is standing up. He's going against the status quo and going against the grain, to only find out that he was not only complicit, he was telling on himself. But the safeguards, he mentioned due diligence about 20 times. Where is that due diligence? Where are the persons that were being paid? He mentioned a CIDD unit. And I can not end here. I can highlight this part for me. He spoke of Governor Antoine. This ain't the first time I'm hearing the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank being mentioned again as some sort of, he's supposed to be a whistleblower. He's supposed to be an authoritative figure there with oversight. Yeah. And again, all those things have been happening and happened, and I've never heard him come out. In fact, quite recently, another board or unit was appointed, and again, he became involved. This is the same governor that has a crisis now that's building a multi-million dollar house.
22 million.
So I'm showing all the illicit actors and the same names reverberating in these echo chambers. Because the governor, apart from the governor, when they get this board together with all the 5 countries, it means the governor Antoine, 5 prime ministers, 5 ministries of finance and everybody that works there, 5 CEOs of these units, and 5 chairmen of the directors of the boards in all these different jurisdictions. So these men are getting up and uttering these statements, and nobody around can be another whistleblower, can just do their job, can do what they're being paid for. So it's not just one extreme of leadership being corrupt and criminal. It's also us as citizens of these great nations being complicit in a lot of these actions and knowing, because I don't want to give it like people are just ignorant. Because I went to change a check today and I've already found out from other persons, how much that check was. And that was just today. So I know persons know what's going on, or knew what was going on, especially the ones that were there for oversight and there to be our authoritative, and we're not. So again, we really have to analyze what this means and how this reverberates throughout our culture. Because when I went today and I met with a very staunch labor right, and he said, "You're going on bad. Just know you and Wally gonna be friends. And if that person didn't love me, and I had the utmost respect for them, I wouldn't have been able to grasp and give him grace and understand what he was saying. But I did pull him up. I let him to know that I might be saying some of the things that Wally loves to hear, because it's now attacking. My words can be weaponized against some of the people he sees as the enemy. I could never be like Wally. And I could never be compared to like Wally, because I'm using my platform, because people know me for my honesty and for me for being forthright. I don't need anybody else's platform or to stand behind an anonymous figure, an anonymous unit pelting stones. So when So when he said that to me, because I knew he was coming from a place of love, I didn't see it as an attack. It's just fear. Because I'm now saying things that Wally has been saying. And in most people's mind, they can't calibrate the two. They can't calibrate that I will be saying the same things as Wally, or I will be attacking the same persons as Wally. They can't calibrate the two. So that's why a lot of the labor rights are the people who believe they're labor rights are being all defensive. And then there's that small clique who are greatly benefiting from the ministers that have our show accounts and the ministers that are involved in a lot of what's going on. There are people who are benefiting directly and indirectly. So again, they're going to be the ones that are going to give that pushback.
Yep. Gentlemen, today's conversation is very interesting one, very important for the people. And for the past 2 weeks, I've been trying to bring this pollster Dan Anderson report through this podcast. And because of time running out. But one of the things that our people seems to miss is prior to Mr. Anderson's report, we had our local pollsters and Groundings Freedom FM in the likes of my cousin, Dr. Martin, the Sam Kanda, and Jamie McFellin, like about 2 weeks prior, who gave similar reports, not in numbers, but in their opinions. So if you can allow me to just drop these 2 clips, and you guys, I know you're capable of breaking it down for the people. And that will be our closeout for the day. So I am asking you guys, I know sometimes hearing certain things, you all are maybe impatient, but for today, it will be very important to get your input on these 2 clips. Dr. Martinez, Honorable Martinez, as I've said to you time and time again, we would not be where we are today without your efforts and MSR efforts that they have made in terms of those RICO cases and filing in
Continued efforts.
Continued effort. So I want to thank you. And it's frustrating to hear the lies. Trust me, I went through it. I lived through it. I'm still living through it. Listening to these press conferences and these round table to hear what these people are saying, to come back and break it down for the citizens is not an easy job. It's very frustrating at times because we have journalists who just does not get it. They don't follow up. They just let things die. For example, during the press conference yesterday, there was a journalist that asked the Prime Minister about the customs duty for import goods. And the Prime Minister's response was, from what he know, nothing have changed. This is what the Prime Minister is telling us. Then Dr. Douglas came in, who is the
Minister of Finance. Please add that he's the Minister of Finance.
Okay. Dr. Douglas came in and said, yes, things have changed. And he's of the view that any vessel that is China under the China flag is paying a higher tariff. Naturally, that cost will be brought down to the purchasers and the general public. And the Prime Minister came back and just continued without even responding to what Douglas said. And these journalists did not even pick up that. That was dead. So how are we going to get any changes in our beloved federation if people are not going to hold their foot to the fire? So let me drop this clip with Mr. Dan Anderson and the one with those guys at Freedom, and then let's wrap it up.
I have on the line with me renowned pollster Don Anderson. Good evening, Mr. Anderson. How are you doing?
I am fine. Good evening to you and to all your listeners. I'm very happy to be on your program. I think for the first time.
Yes, it is the first time.
My pleasure.
It is an honor to speak to you this evening. Now, we understand that you recently conducted a poll in St. Kitts and Nevis, so we want to get down into it. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you have been in this business?
I'm always happy to say so because this year marks the 50th year that my company has been conducting market research in Jamaica and the Caribbean.
And you have conducted polls in St. Kitts and Nevis before, correct?
We have. In terms of political polling, we started political polling in 1988. All right, so we now have 12 plus 24, 36 years experience in political polling specifically. But I just want to make the point that we are a market research company doing work for any industry, for lots of governments, World Bank, central banks, etc., throughout the region. All right. The political polling is a derivative of it and is really the very small portion of the business that we do. So, but I make that point to say that in 50 years of market research, which we have completed or in the process of completing, the market research, the polling that we do is a derivative of market research and the principles are the same.
Now, for those of us who aren't quite familiar with the polling process, can you give us like a walkthrough of that?
Right. First of all, like a market research study, the veracity and the reliability of the data depends on your ability to select a sample that is representative of the population from which it is chosen. Because you can never do a census of all the population unless it's a very small population, really very small. You can't do a census, so you have to do a sample of the population, and the reliability of the sample is based on how representative, if it is a mirror of the overall population from which it is chosen. Then you can project upwards to the population and be sure that in the context that we work, that the data is 95, we are 95% sure that the data is within plus or minus 3%, which is what they call the margin of error. You can never do a perfect poll.
How does one go about selecting a sample?
There are various ways you can select a sample, all right? But I'd like to share with you an example that I use because I've taught at the university to postgraduate students in research methods for years, all right? The best way to select a sample or to explain to the layperson, so to speak, how you select a sample is as follows. I use the bowl of soup example, and I get through this very quickly because I know you want to look at the data.
Definitely.
Right. But the bowl of soup example is very important to explain it to the general public. If you have a bowl of soup, let's say vegetable soup, in which the ingredients are chopped up fine, tomato, cucumber, chocho, whatever the kinds of vegetables you have in the Caribbean, and you're about to have that soup, nice and warm, and it looks good, etc. Your telephone call comes for you, and you say, "Oh my, I have to leave the soup now. I haven't started it yet. Let me go and take this call." And you take 15 minutes on the call. When you come back, if you take up a spoonful of that soup, just take it up and have it. You will not get in that spoonful of soup a sample which is representative of the population because it is not stirred.
Okay.
So the ingredients are the people in the population. But
Yes.
if you stir that soup and take up a spoonful, I can guarantee you'll have a good representation of how the soup tastes.
Okay.
That's the best way to describe a sample. And then from there you project upwards. If you drink half the soup, you're not increasing your reliability any. One spoonful will tell you exactly how the rest of the soup tastes.
Okay, so let's narrow it down to St. Kitts Nevis. We are speaking about the sample. What was the sample size that was selected?
730 persons were interviewed across all 11 constituencies.
Okay, so that was the sample, but what were the key areas of focus for you in this poll?
We wanted to know, and I'll give it as a synopsis of it. We wanted to know what was the national mood at this point in time. Do people feel the country is going in the right direction or the wrong direction? In every political poll we do across the region, we ask this question because we want to know how do people feel about the direction in which the country is going, because that gives you an idea of how they're responding to the government and what they think should be done. All right? So we pitched it to them, and as a research company of our long-standing reputation, there's no question that we ask that is leading. So we objectively present questions to persons and we record the answers that they give to us. We have enough experience not to lead anybody in a particular response. So the national mood, and I'm going to start to give you some data now. Half of the people that we interviewed, 50%, say the country is heading in the wrong direction. This is not an abnormal finding across any country that we do it, because you never have a situation where the majority of people in the country vote for the government in office. Just a logical deduction. All right. So you'll find 50% believe the country however, is heading in the wrong direction. All right. And the main reasons they gave was the high cost of living, the majority of persons, and 40% said poor leadership. So we asked the persons, they told us what percentage believe the country is going in the wrong direction. We then asked them, why do you say it's going in the wrong direction? 51% blamed it on the cost of living, it's too high. And 40% spontaneously, without any prompting, said 40% said it's because of poor leadership. So you can get an idea of how the rest of the data might look from that one question. All right.
Okay. So that was just one question, the
One
national
question.
mood. What
Yes.
else were you looking at?
How people felt about their own situation and how they felt about the country. So following on that, we said 61% believe the country has deteriorated, has gotten worse over the last 3 years. And when we asked them, who do you think is
61%.
responsible? 61% said the country has deteriorated. The economy has gotten worse over the last 2 to 3 years. 83% of them blame the government spontaneously for this problem. So we said, how do you feel about the economy over the last 2 to 3 years? And 61% said it has gotten worse. And when we asked them, who or what do you blame for this deterioration? 83% spontaneously said the government. So when we look at it, we asked the people how they felt about the performance of the government, for example, and the leadership, because this is again is something that we need to do, and we do in every study. What do you feel about the performance of the government then? All right. 84% of persons that we interviewed rated the government performance between average and poor.
Okay.
41, I'll break that down for you. 41% said average, 23% said poor, and 20% said very poor. Spontaneous. We said we use a 5-point scale, using a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is very good and 5 is very bad or something like that. We flipped it, where 5 said it's very good and 1 is very poor. We found that the majority felt that the government was not performing very well. And then we drew that down to, pardon the pun, we then said, okay, how do you feel about the prime minister and his role and how do you rate him? 17% viewed the PM positively. Of this, some people said, well, very good, good, etc. And they cited what they call is caring personality and the people-centered programs as being the positives that they associated with it. So we then looked at something like, how do you feel about the various leaders and who you think is probably the person that would be best at this point in time to run the country? Spontaneously again, we never asked people, how do you feel about Dr. Harris? How do you feel about Dr. Drew? How do you feel about the leaders in any of the other parties? We got to answer, who do you feel is the person best suited to run the country? And Dr. Harris got the highest rating in this particular score. Dr. Timothy Harris, it is, got the highest rating,
Of the
while Dr.
People's
Drew
Labor Party.
was about 19 percentage points behind Dr. Harris. I should mention that each of these questions that we did was analyzed by the 11 constituencies. So even though I've given you the totals here, somebody who would love to look at the data in greater detail, we do have constituency by constituency perspectives on each of these issues.
So, on a constituency basis, were the findings consistent with, or were they higher or lower in some cases?
Well, when you have readings that are above 50% and above 60%, and you break that down, it depends on how many variables you break it down by. In this case, we're breaking that down by 11, right? You will find that the tendency is towards the overall norm. In other words, if the norm is about 60%, then when you look across constituencies, you don't expect much variation because the number is almost up to 100. If you have the percentage up to 80%, you can be absolutely sure that there's no constituency that would deviate much from that. For,
Okay.
again, pretty obvious reasons. All right. So in this case, most of the data we're looking at here is round about 60% and more. And you find that the constituency breakout tends to be very much in line with the norm, the overall total that I was giving you just now.
Okay, so we are in 2025. We're just shy of 3 years since the last general elections, which saw the election of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party to office. Are these results indicative of what may happen in an upcoming general elections, bearing in mind that we are 2 years out until that election is due?
If this particular trend continues, notice I said if it continues,
Yes.
then I think whoever forms an opposition group would be likely to overtake the government in terms of favorability rating and voter intent.
Okay.
So one of the questions we asked was, his situation seems to be bad, the cost of living is high. There are a number of other problems that you face. Regardless of the problem, what do you think is the solution to the problem? Again, a totally open-ended question. And I make the point because we asked the question and we allowed persons to respond as they saw fit. And 45% of the persons believe that a change of government would be a step in the right direction.
So, I've got to ask, what were the feelings of the general population as it relates to when a general election should be called?
Again, a very important and very interesting question because if you follow that answer a while ago, you would expect that people would say, you know what, I think we should have an election as soon as possible. Okay, that is basically what it is saying. And there is a question that was asked of the general public, all 730 persons. How do you think? What do you feel about the current situation? In your view, basically, should there be an election or should, term be satisfied and term be, completed? And more persons felt that what was important right now was to call the election as soon as possible. They could make a determination as to who should run the country after that.
Based on the information that you have found in your recent poll, would it be wise for the sitting administration, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, to call a general election at this point?
Well, it depends on whether or not you think that the situation can improve. If you think you can do something about the situation in the short run, then surely. But clearly, based on the trend that we see, and the trend is the greater predictor of the outcome. So if you see a trend picking up, we haven't that long trend yet. This is one study which is a snapshot at a point in time. But the sort of strength of the numbers that are coming back here suggests that it may be difficult to turn around the situation in the short run. All right. And therefore, maybe based on this one piece of the strength of the numbers, because we still don't have a long time series, that it might be wise. It might not be the wisest thing to. One would need to take a good look at the situation before you make a decision as to when the election is called. But
No.
the nation is calling for an early election.
Now, Mr. Anderson, to be frank, the problems that have been mentioned, the challenges that have been mentioned, are not unique to St. Kitts and Nevis. We are living in difficult times.
No,
No.
I'm doing a lot of work in Jamaica where we're 2 months away from an election.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that kind of led into my question.
Yes.
Because I know that you've done work throughout the region.
Yes.
So how do these results compare with other Caribbean nations? You don't have to tell us which nations,
No.
but is it the
I-
trend that you're seeing in the region at this time?
Not to the extent. In other words, when we look at, I can give you Jamaica because that is public knowledge. All
Okay.
right. Where we are right now is that the opposition in Jamaica has narrow lead over the ruling party, the JLP. But that trend has been, in a way, lowering over the last 9 months from a sizable lead of about 9 percentage points down to 3. So here is a difficult decision to make up to when to call the election. It is due in another 3 months, but they have, of course, the opportunity by constitution to extend that for 3 months beyond that. All right. So in Jamaica, the situation is a lot more difficult than it is in St. Kitts. In St. Kitts, based on the data here, one could see the pattern, not the trend necessarily, just the pattern of the data. And it would suggest that, the ruling party could be in some difficulty. We also looked at the favorability rating for the political parties. Again, we did that by constituencies. And we found that the PLP is the best favored of the parties right now, followed by, of course, the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party. All right, it's the best favored of the parties right now. And again, that varies by constituency because when you look at constituency number 6 and number 7, for example, there's stark
Well, we know the
differences.
answers.
Sorry?
We know the answers in
You know the
constituency
answers, all
6
right? And that
and
is
7,
borne out in
yes.
terms of the survey data.
Yes.
Definitely borne out in terms of the survey data. Now, favorability does not automatically translate into voter intent. I could like somebody or like a party, but may not be inclined to vote for them for various reasons. All right. But generally, favorability tends more towards the same kind of voting intent. In other words, a higher favorability, especially if it is a double-digit gap over the next in line, tends to support the view that more than likely people would vote for the party that has a higher favorability rating. If the favorability rating is narrow, you can't quite say so with a greater degree of certainty because that could be flipped if it's 4 percentage points or so on. But here we're talking about 14 percentage points different, and it is unlikely that you could have such a high favorability difference and not a vote intent in the same direction, if not the same strength.
So what about, let's say, constituency 8?
Even wider gap. In constituency 8, it's a good gap of about 26 percentage points, which is part of the reason for this huge gap is the narrowness or the smallness of the sample bases with, maybe 100 persons in constituency number 8, for example, so that the numbers, because they're smaller, is more dynamic. All right, so it may not be, in reality, as huge a gap as 26 percentage points, but it certainly is a heavy gap.
Okay,
All right.
because that's quite a large constituency.
Yes, right. And we did more interviews in that constituency because of the size of the sample. We wanted to get a more robust base from which you could analyze the data.
Mr. Anderson, what would your recommendations be for the political parties in St. Kitts and in Nevis? Should they be readying themselves for a general elections?
Well, based on the data, the majority of the persons interviewed believe that elections should be called shortly. And that's because they are indicating from the data that things are hard, the cost of living is high. They think that the government is largely responsible for this dilemma that they're facing, and the leadership does not get a high enough rating. So, and people are saying we believe that we should have an election shortly so we could determine for ourselves who we want to run the country at this point in time. Again, so the data is pretty clear as far as I'm concerned as to what the trends are and what the general feeling of the public, the voting public, because I should have mentioned earlier that we interviewed 730 persons who are registered to vote. This is not just a random 730 persons across the population, but those who are registered to vote. Very important point to make.
Mr. Anderson, I want to thank you for sitting down with us this evening. What are your final words? What would you like to leave with our listeners this evening?
The data from a political poll is always a guide to what needs to be done. Polls do not determine the outcome of an election. It certainly gives you an indication of what is the current mood of the population. And for those listening, it helps you to shape your strategy going forward, whether you're a government or an opposition. Some people are quite prone when they listen to political findings to either bury their head in the sand and say, I don't believe it. And then they go about doing the wrong things, or they take a look at it and determine what strategy is best to apply under the circumstances. And it's just like we do a product survey and it tells you people don't like your product for one reason or another. If you want to shut that down and say, no, people not telling us the truth or the researcher is making it up, then you do so at your own peril.
Again, thank you.
Yes, my good people, that was Dan Anderson, pollster of 50 years out of Jamaica, giving his views on the current situation in our beloved Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis in regard to the voting public. Now, over the last 2 weeks, the leadership of the PLP, the People's Labour Party, accepted that report overwhelmingly, while the leadership of the other political parties have rejected it, and more so the leadership of Labour and the supporters of Labour have rejected it. But let's jump into a clip, finally, that actually took place about 2 weeks prior on the Freedom FM 106.5 with my cousin Dr. Martin, Sam Kanda, and Jamie, basically giving their view after a caller called in and decided to give their view, as they said, their devil's advocate reporting, and something I said on my podcast the previous week.
Good afternoon. You're live.
Good afternoon to everyone. I just want to be the devil's advocate at this moment. Sam, Dr. Martin, and Junie, the three big guns.
And Junie?
And June Labor.
Oh.
You all name, I was listening to a tape, and you all name were called, mentioned by DJ Maui Shaw, saying that rather than defending the country, the people, you all are defending labor. Labor. So I thought I would get a little thing to that, but I understand.
Okay.
Yes. What is your take on that?
Okay. Well,
hold on. What evidence? What evidence was provided? No.
Okay, go ahead. I will make a response.
What evidence?
We ain't got no time for this
we
afternoon.
don't. Okay, next week.
Yeah, next
I
week.
think that needs a full afternoon discussion.
But
Right,
let me just tell you.
We can't do this in how many?
Yeah.
We can't do this in 11 minutes.
Let me just tell you, mate. Right?
I'm going to remind you all.
No. Let me just tell you something about Sam here, right?
Yes, Sam. Yes.
There's a quotation from Mark Twain, who said at all times.
Sorry, let me hang up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mark Twain says at all times, people must defend their country and their people. They must support their country and their people. And they support a political party when the party deserves that support. And that's me. At all times, I'm defending and supporting my country.
Last week, when Junie this was chairing, he introduced us with certain adjectives. One of them was patriot.
Right.
That's all I have to say. And this is Patrick Martin.
Okay. The lines are open for two minutes. You can call in at 662-1065, 465-6474, or 465-0546. We're going to go to the comments on our social media feed. Let's see if there are any comments. Please, you don't waste your time on that. Right, that's the first comment I'm seeing. I don't know on what. Someone says, big mistake by Sean and Mark, big political blunder to give Timothy prime ministership with one seat. What about what's going on with the saga with DJ Marisha and the prime minister? Any comments on that? We ain't got no time for that this afternoon. Sorry, we don't have the time. We're going to soon have to order new politicians from Amazon because most these, no bad. Jamie said you're not going to address labor turning where did you me? Well, I don't understand why people want to mix me. No, I'm not going to address it. I don't have any information on it to address it. Somebody said Batcher used to like to ban any song that not favored by his government. Lord boy, you like mix up, Mark need to end. Don't care who they bring, Labour Party will win the next election. Jonel did not win the constituency fairly, and that is why after a measly 2 years he lost badly. The lockdown was really good for his political career. Okay. And that is all. Those are all of the comments there. So, gentlemen, we don't have any callers. We can wrap up.
Well, thank you again, Jamie, for anchoring another interesting
Junior will be back next
program.
I'm going to say that.
I think we have a people who are paying attention. In those comments, most of the comments, people are paying attention to the ebb and flow of the political arena because that's where the political leaders come from. And I firmly believe, and I'm open to be challenged, that the days of the loyal section, the must win, must vote for me, those days are diminishing.
Yep.
They're gone.
Yep.
Well,
that's right. That's right.
Well, I
The
could have.
electorate has changed.
I could have argued up until the 1990s that both PAM and Labour had a 40%, 30%, 40% loyal following. I don't see that
No.
anymore, and that in the electorate, in the body of the electorate, there is a 60-70% whose vote has to be sought. Notice I didn't say bought. Sought. And so
Like
this
Mark
both.
Twain said, the political parties get support when they deserve it.
And I forgot the author of this. Another person
We don't
said,
know that to be a fact because Trump won.
well, he won fairly.
We don't know if he deserved it.
He won fairly. The elections are won and lost by people who show up to vote. And he got his people out.
Elections have consequences.
And so the persons who have this must-win mentality in their head, I wish to have a conversation with him. Because I don't accept that there's any must-win anyway. We have to fight.
And the politicians have to do the work.
Have to fight.
They have, and there are no, well, apart from maybe constituency 6, there are no safe seats in St. Kitts and Nevis. Well, let me not speak for Nevis, but there are no safe seats in St. Kitts anymore.
Yeah, man.
Which one?
6 and
Yeah,
3.
that's what I said. 3?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well,
but 6 maybe.
I think. Well, I'm going to end by saying it's going to be a very, very hot topic when these boundaries change.
Yeah.
The boundaries changing?
When there's boundaries
Well, they have to change.
Well, we join the boundaries.
Yeah. They have
make
to
them
change.
constitutional. I
We are
think
still
all
waiting
bets
on that.
all bets are off. We have
Still
a
waiting
new
on that.
calculus,
Yeah.
and so again, I want to end by saying, we the people, the electorate, have to insist on the political parties that they put up the best people to run, because we cannot afford idiots in Church Street. And where's the NIA located? And Charlestown. Cannot afford that.
Mr. Condor, any final words?
Yeah, I think these are really interesting times.
Okay.
And people think, I think people don't give politics and politicians the credit and the admiration and think that is due. I say that this is something that I enjoy doing and will do it again.
You would?
I would do it again.
He has not thrown in the towel, that's what he said.
I will do it. Not now, not that.
No, I understand. I understand.
In a new life.
I don't know
new
what
self
Dr.
conduct.
Martin was trying to do, but I understood what you meant.
That's the thing. And this is an honorable thing. This is a good thing. And people have to learn to differentiate between service to the people and parasites. I mean,
do we have a lot of parasites in politics?
I always saying that the most sacred duty of a citizen is to vote. Without government, life will be nasty, short, and brutish.
But I can.
There's nothing wrong with the politics. It is the people who are involved.
I can also understand that sometimes people become disenchanted with politicians, as the person wrote that. The person wrote that all the politicians bad.
Yeah,
now,
all the
right?
politicians.
But people have that notion that a lot of times people enter politics not for the good that they can do for the people, but the good that they can do for themselves.
Absolutely.
Right? So that makes people not really want to go out to vote. So it is the politician's job and the job of conversations such as these to educate people about the importance of making the right decision.
Something, we're talking about the resignation.
Yes, my good people. That was a conversation between, like I said, my cousin Dr. Martin and Sam Kanda Jamie just 2 weeks prior to the post to Dan Anderson. And it's amazing that both of them confirm the atmosphere and the mood where the electorate is concerned in our beloved federation. But just a week after, Brother Sam Kanda was elevated to some chairmanship of a committee, and he's singing a different tune now. Brother Garfield, you're up. Tap your screen, open your mic.
Up as in to close off?
Yes,
I'll
get
talk an
into
opinion.
opinion and close off. Opinion and close off.
Polls. As you know, well, I don't think I just announced that when what's it called? Introducing myself. But I'm a medical scientist. I'm a doctor by training, and like I said in the last program, there's another level of training that us three as men can understand. That nobody could teach you in college. Your parents can't parent you it, but when you experience it as a man and you have to stand up to certain things and live by the repercussions of your decisions, yeah, that's a different teaching altogether. So that teach me an even different level of medicine, and especially because I was banished to the community, to have me ostracized from JNF, but really it was a clinical enrichment program where I really got to know my nation and my people a little bit more. So polls for me, I love his metaphor, but I always remember it by saying polls are popularity, opinion, love, and likes. So those are all emotional. So I love how the polls have really simplified it, because really and truly voting is about emotions. It really has nothing to do with intelligence and what. If it was really guided by that, it wouldn't be that minimalist and simplistic. For example, we really aren't voting for anything, because when you have a bunch of parties, as you've seen, because you've seen Timothy get a whole slate of individuals, they retire or leave him, and he has a whole new slate. Again, he boasts of that Pam don't have a slate, and he has a slate. Labour has always been able to have a slate, even when it was all the way through Anguilla, but we ain't gonna talk about that time. We're talking about now. So a individual party selecting who they want and then putting them up almost like in the window at TDC back in the day. And you get to choose. And then there's this a lot of what we know, there's a lot of political machinations that happens behind doors and a lot of backdoor meetings that they talk about, that we hear about. And then finally you're presented with the prime minister that they chose for you. And then that person goes on to dictate how the rest generations will live. We've seen that in four different times now. And we see the repercussions of these men's actions. That's too much power to hand over to one man or to one party who we know is not being run by the people. We don't want even more clear examples. So we could talk like from now until next year about what has passed, but we really have to talk about what will be our stance going forward. It can't be the same old, same old. It can't be the same old elections. It can't be the same old one vote for a prime minister. That should change. You don't get to vote for whether you want water or not. You don't want to get to vote where your budget goes, where your tax dollars go. All the empowerment movements and votes don't happen. We don't get to elect one member of our family or one member from our street or one member from our community to go out and represent us and really speak for us. We rely on a one vote every 5 years. That's the most, that's like Mr. Martinez said, that's enslavement. But you know what's worse than enslavement? Thinking that you're a master and you're enslaved. Because people tout, I can sell my vote for this, or nobody can get me vote. So we delay, people talk about delayed gratification, but we also delay our empowerment. So people feel it's only that one vote every 5 years that we have the power to make a change or the power to stand up and say, no, that's wrong. We are people fearful of being victimized by 1-2 persons. And again, how are we living in a world where people could victimize you, take off the title and hang it on the office door and then walk off to normal lives? We know of persons who have been destroying lives. We know of in multiple administrations where heads of government, people in HR would destroy people's lives and livelihood. And now we're seeing on the back end where certain persons of certain ilks were promoted. And again, like Mr. Martinez says, when the shit hits the fan and people see the amount of zeros, the certain people who've been balling, who've been claiming, I would help if only I had, and they have. That's going to be the Armageddon, because it's going to be an Armageddon of emotions and mentalities where people can't believe who could have saved them and didn't. That's why, again, I love the fact that Mr. Martinez, he didn't use a direct number. He said 500 low-income houses.
900. 900.
Sorry, 900. 900 low-income houses. We were promised how much in this last dispensation? Because we like to compare way back. I'm talking about this last dispensation where we had all faith, all hope that this was the safety that we've always prayed for and worked for. This was the change of all changes, because this change spoke of all the bad that went on before. And we have somebody with the equivalent of 900 low-income houses, and only 2 have been built. And people are clamoring about who built them, if it was Dominicanos, as if Dominicanos don't have families and persons are humans. Yeah, we strain from the point because we don't want to look direct into the mirror. And we have to do that. So it won't just be a witch hunt and, hey, we need to change this person and this person have all this in their account. We also have to look up the channels of how these people enrich themselves off of us. We allowed it. We allowed it through our style of leadership. We allowed it through our style of fellowship. Because we're following these people. So that's really why I want to leave there. But hold on, I don't want to forget this at all. Mr. Martinez mentioned it too. A direct question was asked to the Prime Minister. I think he passed it to Dr. Douglas, where they asked about the issues and the visa. It was Miss, what's the name of the AG? God, Wilkin from Win FM. She asked, and he referred it to Dr. Douglas, and Dr. Douglas gave a long rigmarole and then came around to saying that that we were challenged because of our CBI, and then he said, and I leave it there. So the audacity of being the root of all this, having a chance to come, even if you don't want to come clean, give some inch of transparency where he says, and a CBI, and I'm going to leave it there. And nobody else in that room challenges that. So when our leaders present themselves in front of us, it's not to be scrutinized. It's not to say, hey, this was done, but I think this could have been done. And for us to recalibrate and improve upon, it's never about that. It's for them. Just like in Animal Farm, to change the laws and the bando and tell us otherwise.
Thank you, Dr. Alexander. Mr. Martinez, your input?
Well, first of all, the poll of that pollster company, I think they were hired by the Harris campaign. So whoever hired the poll has also an influence on the type of question. And so I don't pay attention to polls, right? I pay much more attention to the second clip, where people that are close to the government are not even sure that they can win 2 seats, right? There is a definite momentum of Timothy Harris right now, definitely. And there is definitely, from the street, a feeling that Drew, the labor, is not working out, no job, crisis, whatever. But if you hear the press conference from the Prime Minister yesterday, the country is booming. So I don't know, I'm not in St. Kitts, but in the press conference, it looks like everything is booming. Construction, real estate, tourism, and that everything is fine. So that's not really important. My personal opinion is that, and it's a prediction, you're going to see events taking place in 2025 that will, in my opinion, make it impossible for some of the gentlemen to even go back to trying to be elected again. And I'm, there is simply no way that they will be able to represent themselves when certain things are going to become public knowledge. That's number one, okay? And number two, the face of this country depends how Terence Drew and Garth Wilkin handle the explosion of information of 20 years of fraud that's going to come out. If they stick to, we got to protect the comrades, then it's going to be a. If they actually want to go the right way, but listen, I don't want to go into detail, but this is a regional problem. And as much as I can be upset with Terence Michael Drew for the lies and everything that he has done in the CBI with Galaxy and the lies that he said about you guys and me, he's going to need to have a very cool head between now and the end of the year. Because some of the evidence that you guys have seen in my lawyer's office, like the confession of Les Khan, they will explode worldwide. And how this country handled that, how the Prime Minister handled that, or if he chooses to, in my opinion, some people will have to distance themselves as soon as they can from other individuals. And that's going to be the only way for them to save each other. If they want to stick together, well, good luck to them. So the poll, I don't pay attention. And Sam Condor and that Mr. Martin, everybody has integrity. Everybody, everybody claims that they love their country and they have the highest integrity. But then we have their bank accounts. And, by the way, I don't know if you remember, but in one of the press releases a month and a half ago, we invited the Director of Public Prosecution to come to DC to review all the bank accounts of the politician. Just want to mention, we've never heard from him.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Thanks for your input. Mr. Benter, your comments and closing, sorry.
Sure, thank you. Thank you guys again. A wonderful program as usual. I am on the outside of most of what's going on when it comes to the individuals on this podcast, for a reason being placed in positions where I was actually re-invoked. But when I spoke earlier about actions based on the Prime Minister's presentation of what the actions would be if there are infractions of members who are provided citizenship of St. Kitts and Nevis, that the actions that the government would take would be in concert with the other entity of which they committed the crime. Back in 2024, Darren Lee, by Citizen My Investment, under the program, he has a citizenship of St. Kitts and Nevis, was arrested in the United States, convicted, and to date, St. Kitts hasn't taken any action along with the US government. We have Wang Shui Ming as well. He was arrested for billions of dollars in money laundering, citizenship of St. Kitts. Nothing to do with the MSR side, because that's a different venture that's going to take place as far as who is who. But to show the pattern as far as what was presented, as far as what steps will be taken if anyone violates earning the citizenship by way of pretty much the program, what actions the government would take. To date, there hasn't been one individual, and this is just two names. I could go into some others, but I'll keep those in reserve, that the government still has not acted on, which part of what the State Department is looking for is what have you done? What are you going to do? What you have in place for all of those deficiencies that you have based on providing due diligence on these individuals or characters. And there's nothing that they can provide because just as recent of this year, Darren Lee was convicted in 2024, sentenced 2025 with nothing from the AG's office on that issue. Listening to the cry of the people, though, along the course of what they're saying, as far as how they feel, how they're living, send some recognition of governance where people are speaking up and for themselves as well as for the country. It is unfortunate that the ears that are levied to hear are the ones of which are causing the grief and the pain. To understand to correct this vexing issue, then certain steps must be taken. You spoke about the housing project of the 900 homes, but when you look at the funds that are really available and the accounts of which they're placed in, and who is really the manager behind the company from Trinidad, who is really behind it, they're in St. Kitts. And these are people who sit in official positions, either them or their wives, who are the ones that's managing this program. It is not handled by the people who it should be managed by, or the builders, as Brother Alexander was speaking about, as far as who some are claiming to be the builders. That has nothing to do with the process of how the program was managed and where the funds based on the interest being collected are. So I see tonight, I know that there's a lot more to be said, but I know for sure that if this trend continues, based on what the sentiments of the people are, because you listen to the different verses of the different shows, as the commentaries as far as what people are saying and how they perceive their lives to be. It is not about you and I and singly, it's in totality of the nation, the population, as far as how you take care of your people. If your people begin to feel disenfranchised, they begin to speak up and stand up. As they stand up, they begin to express themselves and demonstrate their dissatisfaction with service. And once they begin to do that, and you're not hearing, only because now this matters before the eyes and ears of everyone that can read and see for themselves, the MSR, who became the blatant victim really of taking an action against corruption, and now more so that the exposure has now derived into understanding, education, diversification of knowledge across the board, people are now transcending to pay attention much better, much closer, and they are looking for what are the answers, what are the solutions, and who will be those individuals to be the deliverance that will take them through these hard times and bring them out of all this bondage that we are under or they're under to have a better life for their family and their children. Education, as you know, based on the children, what they're looking at. Why we think they're just semblance of just growing up, they have grown by the time they've grown in the mother's womb because they felt the hunger and they felt the anguish and they understand faster than you and I. We're in a new technological era where our children can handle their cell phone better than you and I, even though we're older than they are. So how do we now fuse the separation of church and government and fuel the understanding that there are people who are really interested in doing well on behalf of the people? Service first, not servitude. And how do we get there? And I think the message is tonight, based on explanation, step by step. My footprint, though, goes into every Caribbean island. Just unfortunate, since Mr. Marisha got me reactivated back into the Caribbean islands that I'm dealing with, also with Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia as well. Right? So we're not speaking about those others, but they also have the Citizen by Investment Program. This is a correlation of all combined together to see who is taking that step forward to do what's right on behalf of its citizens. And unfortunately, the only name that's standing out more in these discussions when there are four others is St. Kitts and Nevis. Then comes St. Lucia. Even though Dominica have its pyramid, it is St. Kitts and Nevis that's leading the charge as far as what you're looking at the delineation of corruption under the program, where it shouldn't have been. And I said to I'm so proud to hear what the Prime Minister said. It gave me great encouragement, yes, but it also now, under his own version of his own words, to his constituency, what was said, what will be done, how will it be done, how soon will it be done, and exposing what he meant, and then changes that whole aspect of what he meant to be the primary person or leadership of a government to fall deep into the abyss of corruption. So I want to thank you guys this evening. And I said this is a robust show, and I think more so I am pleading with even those who are still in governance, your people, your country. The shame that's coming. It's a wave, a tidal wave, it's a typhoon, it's a tsunami. You have created this on the backs of your own people because of what? Greediness. So thank you, DJ Marisha, and I bid your listeners, as well as other two members in the panel, a good evening.
Well, I see Mr. Benter showing off his, I say Benter, Mr. Martini showing off his Ferrari and us. So I wonder if he got that from the CBI as well. Anyway, but Benter, I do not know if you're in a position to share with us, but I understand that there's some legal ramification going on in the Virgin Islands as well with some former government citizens, government officials. Could you give us any updates on that?
Sure. And then part of investigations that have been conducted and being able to bring in the federal government into the U.S. Virgin Islands, we have a lot of government officials who are corrupt, from our governors to commissioners and senators. And being an individual that stood alone and pushing the envelope, it took some serious work and under the radar operation to get a lot done. So with the federal government in the U.S. Virgin Islands, the FBI specifically and the U.S. Department of Justice, what's been happening is our Attorney General's office, U.S. Attorney General's office has been pretty much cleaned, where individuals are brought in from outside to pretty much house that office. And then, of course, the FBI brought in at a share of many other FBI agents, not utilizing those who have been here in this territory. And as such, keen investigation as far as deep undercover commencing from 2019, 2020, 2021, coming forward, capturing some of the commissioners and doing bogus deals and contracts and alluding to how much they must be paid for the services that they will provide. We go into what you call inside trading, where individuals who apply for contracts are listening to the bidding processes or discussions of the agencies and hearing the numbers of other individuals who bid. That is totally illegal. And then here comes our government of the U.S. Virgin Islands presently, where through the contracts which were awarded, it enabled individuals to commit fraud upon the government. We had several individuals who were indicted, and more indictments to come, as a grand jury just sat in the U.S. Virgin Islands this past June. But today we have one of the commissioners who is before the courts, and in what's taking place, it's just clear cut that just about every one of these individuals, it goes to the police commissioner, it goes to the commissioner of management and budget of the funds of the government of the Virgin Islands, it went to the housing authority, finance authority, federal housing finance authority. One has already been found guilty. There are 3 others that's waiting for the trial to begin. And it shows the tentative direction of the people of this territory when it comes to the jury, as far as their understanding and what steps they're going to take. So this week, by the end of this week, we should see another possible conviction of one of the commissioners of the government agency that works right under the governor of the Virgin Islands. And out of the grand jury, we should see several other indictments of public officials. And that's all taking place in the U.S. Virgin Islands, handled by just one person, original as far as moving the investigations forward. And that's none other than myself. Some people say, well, you shouldn't talk about this, but I have to. As there was no other individual, government alike or otherwise, stood with me to bring clarity to the vexing issues or the total corruption within our government agencies from 2019 to present. And I must say that I am not proud of it because we're here, but disgusted with it because it's happening to you as well in short form. Just for now, the action to be taken, but it's going to take an outside agency to handle your investigation because, of course, as your Attorney General, he himself has compromised and will not touch it because of what I know and what he knows that I know, that he would not touch any government official in St. Kitts and Nevis the right way as it should be. So I want to thank you for allowing me to vegetate those discussions and what's happening in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
But Bent, I want to say to you that I'm similar to you in terms of wrong and right. There's no left or right, and it is straight ahead. And your effort over the years since I met you and the struggles of people trying to marginalize you for doing the right thing, things are coming to fruition. And I'm seeing the same thing gonna happen in St. Kitts Nevis. So I'm not losing any sleep.
I do too.
You know. Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining me this afternoon, this evening for yet another robust conversation. I had pushed the usual opening ads and stuff to the back of the podcast so that I could have had a good conversation with you guys up front. Very good job, Mr. Martinez, Mr. Alexander, Brother Benter. So I'm going to drop my ads on my closing track and I'll be out of here. I look forward to future conversation. If you guys want to stick around and listen to the ads, fine. If not, thanks for joining me this evening, and I look forward to yet another conversation with you in the not too distant future. Brother Martinez, enjoy your ride. I see you enjoying the sunshine with your sunroof and everything open. So enjoy your ride.
And Mr. Bento, you such a big boat, and you're just sitting there simple, sir. But Mr. Marshall, like, boy, wow.
I just want to say something very quickly. I think that what Mr. Benta said at the end about the Attorney General, the biggest thing that's going to happen before the end of the year is why the Attorney General did not indict and stop what took place in the CBI with the people, the individual. That's going to be the biggest question that the international community will ask him. And it's very regrettable because he's a good kid, he comes from a good family. But he put himself in that position, not us.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's take a run across to the sister island Nevis. Here my boy Cabo have to tell us this evening.
Cabos, located at Fountain Village in Nevis, is the go-to spot for your Saturday treats. Tantalize your taste buds with his delectable Cabos Delicacy Goat Water. Or, if you prefer some soul food, then Cabos Fungi and Fish is definitely the way to go. Call ahead and reserve at 869-663-9694. Then make your way over to Cabos and enjoy the vibrant atmosphere while you savor your delicacy. Cabos, we are not changing, we are only improving.
Food all over, food all over. You got the food all over.
You heard it right. Brother Cabo has the food all over Nevis, and he also does special events. Just feel free to reach out to Cabo, let him know DJ Mauritius sent you. You can get your goat water frozen to travel across the globe, my good people. Just let Cabo and the DJ Mauritius sent you. Now let's take a quick listen to my sister Carmen Day of Carmen Caterers.
Girl Sandra, you know where you can find nice fresh local food 7 days a week, one provision and all kind of thing. Girl, where? Right down there by Shellings, by Carmen Catering Services. Girl, she opposite the bus stop. Girl, and she also cater for weddings, parties, anything you want to cater for, funeral and all. Girl, and trust me, you're gonna enjoy the food. And she also selling bites and sundaes. Opposite the car shop, right down the main road. Girl, you could call 665-1494 or 663-6005 to order your food. Go and pick up your food. Girl, the food will be finger licking and you get your money worth. You ain't want nothing better than that.
You heard that right. Sister Carmen is right there in downtown Bastia. Right opposite the West Ferry Terminal there in Sherlyn. And she's there Monday to Saturday from midday until about 5 p.m., my good people. One of the best chefs in the island, the Federation of St. Kitts Navy, Sister Carmen. You check out. She's also over there in the bus stop in Boyd Village, right opposite the Garo shop there. Just stop by and have Brother Everett Ogaro. Tell him give you a drink and call the DJ, let the DJ come and hang with you. Now let's take a quick listen to my boy, Brother Malvin Gums, see what he have to say about the DJ there. Malvin Gums of the Spectrum Band.
Hey, this is Malvin from Spectrum Band, and you're listening to DJ Marisha, playing you the best in Caribbean music.
You got that.
Hey, this is Malvin from Spectrum Band, and you're locked into DJ Marisha. Keep it locked.
Right there. And you don't move that dial because when the DJ is pumping some serious tracks. And, we keep the atmosphere burning. We keep you updated on everything that is taking place And that is how we do it here on a Wednesday evening. Now, as we get closer to the closing of the podcast, I have to drop you just a few more clips, and we're going to jump right into our closing anthem. Well, before we go into the closing anthem, let me drop you this track of my boy there of 3A's After Services. My boy, Brother Aston Corker of 3A's Other Services. Let me hear what Brother Corker have to say this evening to us. Attention vehicle owners and operators. Your driving experience just got better. Yes, you heard it right. 3A's Auto Services located Main Street, Sandy Point, St. Kitts, where you have tire sales and installation, vehicular repairs, and other services. You can reach Mr. Aston Corker at 869-664-2204, 869-667-2071, or 869-665-0605. Yes, 3A's Auto Services, located at Main Street, Sandy Point, St. Kitts, just above the Brimstone Hills Fortress. And you can reach out to them for emergency roadside services. Remember, Brother Aston Corker is available 24/7. Just call those numbers.
I just want to drive the motor car. I just want to drive the motor car. Drive it. Drive it. Give me one. Hey.
Yes, that's Brother Aston Corker there. That's 3A's Auto Services, Main Street, Sandy Point, St. Kitts. Just let Brother Aston Corker knows that DJ Marisha sent you, and he'll definitely take care of it. Now let's take a quick one, of course, to Station Street Old Road. I hear my boy Geejo have to tell us.
Check out Guy Bar at Station Street, Old Road, this and every Saturday for the best bullfoot, goat water, conchs, bigfoot, and cook up. If you're in the mood, we also serve garlic bread, fried fish, green salad, and burgers. So remember, the place to be is at Guy Bar, where you can enjoy Ludo games, snake and ladder, dominoes, listen to music all night, and sip on some cold drinks. Yes, it's all happening this and every Saturday at Guijo's Bar, Station Street, Old Road.
Yes, you heard it right. And Brother Guijo is there every Saturday. You get your eat and drink, your domino, your games and everything. Those guys enjoy themselves. They're lovely bartenders. Very good attitude. When you go there, just tell Guijo that DJ Marisha sent you. Well, now before I get into my closing song by the late great King Arrow, let me drop this final clip and try and raise the heart rate of those labor rights. Thank you to Brother Timothy Harris for this clip. It's really keeping the labor rights going mad.
In our audience today is DJ Marisha. I want you to give him a hand of welcome because PLP welcomes all. DJ would tell you that he has had some harsh words for me, but I never take that on. I listened. I accept his criticism, shook his hand several times, and I vow that I will do better. I want to thank him, though, for standing on principle. He, like several others, were fooled by Dr. Joe. They have come now to see him as the vindictive, selfish, arrogant, insecure leader that he had always been. So I say welcome to you, my brother and friend. We will not always agree, but I will always admire a man who put his country first. You will always stand tall in my books.
Yes, and that's coming from the Honorable Timothy Harris, giving me my accolades for standing up for country above self and not for those who can easily be bought. You know, the Prime Minister said in Parliament that election can be easily bought and crooks can be easily bought. But I am not a crook. I am a Maorisher. So naturally, the DJ is not for sale. My good people, as I get into my closing song, this one is by the late great King Arrow. This one is called Arise. And I'm asking my people, please, put country above self. This is why the DJ went out and registered a coalition there by the name of Citizens Empowerment Coalition. Embracing all as one, we are seeking independent candidates to participate in the upcoming federal elections in all 11 constituencies. Many individuals have raised their hand and have came out and registered their name for the upcoming general election. In due course, those individuals will be presented to the general public, and nomination day will be a very interesting day. The general public will have options, no longer the regular, corrupt, greedy politician, but trying to give the country back to you, our beloved citizens, under the team, Citizens Empowerment Coalition. That is what we need to claw back these funds in those overseas accounts and bring it back to you, the general public that need it most.
Your country dying and never lend a helping hand. Would you see your children's future dwindling, creating much disillusion? Or would we watch on idly, disregarding our self-sufficiency? Maladministration building a brand new nation. We'll move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Building a wall so massive or a bridge, don't care how unification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Can your conscience be clear? Indulging corruption or misusing public office, being accused of unemployment and crimes, or disrupting a citizen's peace. Oh, my country in disharmony, separated politically. Hatred for a brother, cannot love each other. No, I say no, potato. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct all mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. So rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours.
Yes, my good people, and we call it a night this evening. Very successful program as usual.